I'm 58 years old now, and for 23 years I have not told
I'm 58 years old now,
anyone
and for
about
23
what we
years,
found in the
I've
waters
kept
off the
silent
Great
about what we found in the
Barrier
waters off
Reef
the Great
in
Barrier Reef
2002.
in 2002. My name is Dr. Marcus Reed. I was a marine biologist specializing in shark behavior and migration
sharks and how they
patterns.
move from
I
place
still
to place.
am, technically.
I still
though I
am,
haven't been back to
technically,
those waters
though I
since
have not
April
been
of that
back to
year.
those waters.
The Australian Maritime
Since
Safety
April of that
Authority brought
year,
me in to
the
investigate
Australian
unusual
Maritime
marine
Safety
activity
Authority
after
brought me
14
in to
experienced divers
investigate
vanished from
unusual
a 40-mile
ocean
stretch
activity
of reef
after
near
14
Cairns.
experienced
All of them
divers
disappeared during night
disappeared
dives.
from a
None of
40-mile
them sent
stretch of
distress
reef
signals.
near Cairns.
All of their equipment
All of them
functioned
disappeared
perfectly
during
when
night
recovered.
dives.
We caught
None of
something on
them
April
sent
7,
distress signals.
2002 at 2:47
All of their
in the
equipment
morning.
worked perfectly when we
Something
found
that
it.
wasn't supposed to
We
exist.
caught something
She was
on April
tangled in our
7th,
shark bait
2002
lines, bleeding from the
at
hooks we'd set
2:47 in the
to study
morning.
great white feeding
Something
behavior.
that was not
When she looked
supposed
up
to
at us
exist.
from the nets,
She
I
was
heard her make a
tangled in our
sound
shark
that my
bait
brain tried
lines,
to translate
bleeding
as a
from the
word.
hooks we had
And
set
3
to
days
study
later,
great white
before I
feeding
released her
behavior.
back into the ocean,
When she
and
looked up at
destroyed
us
every
from the
piece of
nets,
evidence we'd
I
collected,
heard her make a
she
sound
told
that
me
my
what
brain
happened
tried to
those
translate
divers.
as a word,
Not all of it was murder.
and 3 days
but
later,
enough of it was.
before I
need to
released
tell
her
this
back into
exactly
the
as it
ocean
happened,
and destroyed
because I've
every
carried
piece
the
of
weight of
evidence
those
we had
deaths for
collected,
more than 2 decades.
she told me what happened to
14
those
families
divers.
never got real
Not
answers.
all of it was
The official
murder,
investigation
but enough of it
concluded
was.
misadventure
I need to
and
tell
marine
this
hazard,
exactly as it
nature
happened,
unspecified.
because
I
I
wrote
have
that
carried the
final
weight
report.
of those deaths
I
for
filed the
more than 2
paperwork that
decades.
closed those cases,
14
and I've
families
lived with
never
that
got real
decision every day
answers.
since.
The official
knowing that the truth
investigation
would have
said it was
sparked something far
misadventure
worse than
and marine
grief.
hazard.
This is what really
Nature
happened in those waters.
unspecified.
This is why we stopped
wrote that
searching.
final
The first
report.
diver vanished on January 9,
I filed the
2002.
paperwork
His
that
name was
closed those
Colin
cases.
Ashworth, 34,
And I have lived
a dive
with that
instructor
decision
from Brisbane
every day
with over
since,
800 log dives.
knowing that the truth
He'd been
will
leading a
spark
night
something
charter near
far
Flynn Reef,
worse than grief.
about 35 nautical
This is what
miles
really happened
offshore.
in those
The group
waters.
descended at 8:15
This is why we
p.m.
stopped
for
searching.
a planned
The
45-minute
first diver
dive to
disappeared
observe
on
feeding
January
behavior
9th,
in
2002.
nocturnal reef species.
His name was Colin
At 8:33
Ashworth,
p.m.,
34,
his dive partner
a dive
reported that
instructor
Colin
from
had
Brisbane
signaled
with over
he was going to
800
photograph a
dives.
moray eel den
He had been leading a
approximately
night
20
charter
meters from
near
the main
Flynn
group.
Reef,
He never
about
returned to the boat.
35 nautical miles
Search and
offshore.
rescue found his tank the next
group
morning,
went
still
down
half
at
full,
8:15
resting
p.m.
on the reef
for
floor
a
at
planned
62
45-minute
feet.
dive
His
to watch
regulator was in
feeding
his mouth.
behavior in
His
nighttime.
mask was on his face.
Reef species
His weight belt was
at
properly
8:33
secured.
p.m.
There was no sign of struggle.
His dive partner
no
said
equipment
that Colin had
malfunction,
signaled
no
he was going
indication
to
of panic or
photograph
rapid ascent.
a
The
moray
underwater
eel den
camera he'd
about
been
20
carrying
meters
was
from
gone.
the main group.
3 weeks later,
He never
on
returned
January
to the boat.
31st, 2 divers
Search and
disappeared
rescue
from separate
found his
locations
tank
within
the
the
next
same
morning,
night. Sarah Chen,
still half full,
29,
resting on the
during a
reef
solo
floor
night
at
dive
62
near
feet.
Opal Reef. Her
His
body
regulator
was never
was in
recovered,
his mouth.
but her dive computer was
His
found
mask
wedged
was
in
on
a
his
coral
face.
formation, showing
His
a
weight
maximum
belt was
depth
properly
of 89
secured.
feet, and a
There was
dive
no
time
sign
of
of
16
struggle,
minutes
no
when it
equipment
stopped
problem,
recording.
no sign
Marcus
of
Webb,
panic
41,
or fast
disappeared
ascent.
from a group dive
The
at
underwater
Norman
camera
Reef.
he had been
His
carrying
tank, fins,
was gone.
and mask were discovered
3 weeks
scattered
later,
across a 50-meter
on January
radius. But
31st,
again, no
2
body.
divers
The
disappeared
Australian
from separate
Maritime Safety
locations on the
Authority
same
issued a
night.
precautionary notice
Sarah Chen,
on February
29,
4th. They
disappeared
suggested
during a
avoiding
solo
night dives in the
near
affected
Opal
area
Reef.
until the cause
Her
could be
body
determined.
was never found,
Most operators
but her dive
complied,
computer was
some
found
didn't.
wedged in a
Tourism
coral
revenue in
formation,
Cairns depends heavily
showing a
on
maximum
diving
depth of
operations.
89
The reef
feet
is
and a dive
enormous.
time of 16
The
minutes
idea that
when it
something
stopped
was
recording.
systematically targeting
Marcus
divers
Webb,
seemed
41,
impossible.
disappeared
By the
from
end
a
of
group dive
February,
at Norman
7
Reef.
more divers
His
had
tank,
vanished,
fins,
all during night dives,
and masks
all
were
in that
found
same
scattered across a
40-mile
50-meter
corridor of reef
radius.
between
But
Flynn
again,
and Norman.
no body.
pattern was
The
too
Australian
specific to
Maritime
ignore
Safety
and
Authority
too scattered to
issued a
predict.
warning notice
Depths
on February
ranged from
4th.
45 to 110
They suggested
feet.
avoiding night
Experience levels varied
dives
from
in the
novice to
affected
professional.
area until the
Ages
cause
ranged
could be
from 22
determined.
to 56.
Most
There was
operators
no common
agreed.
equipment brand,
Some
no shared
did
dive
not.
operator, no weather
Tourism,
pattern that
money
linked
and Cairns
incidents.
depends heavily
What they did
on diving
share
operations,
was timing.
and the reef
Every
is
disappearance
huge.
occurred between
The
8
idea
p.m.
that something was
and 4
targeting
a.m.
divers on
Every
purpose
single one
seemed
happened
impossible.
during the new moon
By the the end of February, 7 more divers had disappeared.
I
all
arrived
during
in
night
Cairns
dives,
on March 18th.
all in
The
that
AMSA
same
had
40-mile
contracted
strip
with
of
the
reef
James Cook
between
University,
Flynn and
where I'd
Mermaid.
been researching great white
The
shark
pattern was
predation
too
patterns for the
specific to
previous 8
ignore
years.
and too scattered
They
to
wanted
predict.
someone who understood
Depths
apex
ranged
predator
from
behavior
45
and could
to
determine whether
110
an animal
feet.
was responsible.
Experience
Tiger
levels
sharks,
varied
bull
from
sharks,
beginner to
and great
professional.
whites all frequented the
Ages
area.
ranged from
The
22
assumption
to
was that
56.
an unusually aggressive
There was no
individual
common
had
equipment
claimed
brand,
territory and
no
was
shared
attacking
dive
divers
operator,
who entered it
no
at
weather
night.
pattern that connected the
I
incidents.
spent 4 days
What they
reviewing
did share
incident
was
reports,
timing.
interviewing survivors
Every
from
disappearance
dive groups
happened
where
between
someone
8
had
p.m.
vanished
and 4
and
a.m.
examining recovered equipment.
Every single one
Nothing
happened
supported the
during
shark
the new moon
hypothesis.
phase or
Shark
within.
attacks leave evidence,
3 days
tooth
ago,
marks on tanks,
when the
torn
ocean was
wetsuits,
darkest,
blood in the water,
I arrived
bite
in
patterns
Cairns on
on
March
recovered
18th.
bodies.
The
We had none
AMSA
of
had
that.
hired me through
What
James
we
Cook
had were
University,
clean disappearances,
where
as
I
if
had
the
been
divers
researching
simply
great
been
white
removed
shark
from the
hunting
reef
patterns
with
for the
surgical
previous 8
precision.
years.
On
They
March
wanted someone
22nd,
who
I
understood
went
top
down
predator
myself.
behavior and could
A night
figure
dive
out whether
at
an
Flynn
animal
Reef,
was
right in the
responsible.
center of the disappearance
Tiger
zone.
sharks, bull
I took 2
sharks,
safety
and great
divers
whites
with me,
all
both
visited
former
the
Navy
area.
clearance divers with
The
combat
assumption was
experience.
that an unusually
carried
aggressive
underwater lights
individual
powerful
had
enough
claimed
to
territory
illuminate
and
30
was
meters
attacking
in any
divers who
direction.
entered it at night.
We descended at
I
9:45
spent 4
p.m.,
days
the
reviewing
same time
incident
frame
reports,
when Colin Ashworth had
interviewing
vanished.
survivors
The
from
reef
dive
was
groups
quiet.
where someone had
Too
disappeared,
quiet.
and
I
examining
dived
recovered
hundreds of reefs
equipment.
at night, and there's
Nothing
always
supported
movement,
the shark
always
theory.
sound conducted through
Shark
the water.
attacks leave
Fish
evidence.
emerging from daytime
Tooth
hiding
marks on
spots,
tanks,
octopuses
torn
hunting,
wetsuits,
eels
blood in the
patrolling
water,
their territories.
bite patterns on
That
recovered
night, the reef
bodies.
felt empty.
We had none
My
of
light
that.
cut through the water.
What we had
and found
were
nothing
clean
but coral
disappearances.
and rock. No
As if the
fish,
divers had
no
simply
movement.
been removed
The
from the
only
reef
sound was
with
our
surgical
breathing
precision.
and the mechanical click of
On
our
March
regulator.
22nd,
At 10:12
I went
p.m.,
down
I heard
myself,
something
a
else.
night dive at
A
Flynn Reef,
vocalization, low frequency,
right in the center
traveling
of the
through water
disappearance
from
zone.
somewhere beyond our lights.
I took 2 safety divers with me,
Not whale song,
both former
dolphin
Navy
clicks,
clearance
which I
divers
knew
with
well.
combat
Something
experience.
between a hum and a word.
We carried
rising
underwater
and
lights
falling
powerful
in pitch
enough
with
to
a pattern
light
that
up
felt intentional.
30 meters in any
My safety
direction.
divers heard it too.
We went down
I could
at
see them turning,
9:45
trying to
p.m.,
locate the source.
the same
The
time
sound
frame
repeated
when
3
Colin
times,
Ashworth had
each
disappeared.
slightly different, like
The
someone
reef
testing
was quiet.
variations of a phrase.
Too quiet.
Then it
I had
stopped.
dived hundreds of
We
reefs at
waited for
night,
5 minutes
and there
in
is
silence,
always
then
movement,
surfaced.
always sound traveling
Back on the
through
boat,
the water.
neither of my safety
Fish
divers would
coming out
admit
from
what they
daytime
were.
hiding spots.
They both claimed it was
Octopuses
probably a whale
hunting.
in the distance.
Eels
even though
patrolling
humpback
their
migration
territories.
season had ended 2 months
That
earlier.
night, the reef felt empty.
I'd seen their
My
faces
light
when
cut
that
through the
sound
water
came through
and
the
found
water.
nothing
They'd
but
heard
coral
the same
and
thing I
rock.
had.
No
Something
fish,
trying to
no
communicate.
movement.
By
The
the end
only
of
sound
March,
was
the
our
total
breathing
disappearances
and the
reached
mechanical click
14.
of our
The
regulators
AMSA
at
suspended
10:12
all-night
p.m.
diving operations
I
in
heard
the
something
affected
else.
area
A
indefinitely.
sound, low
The
frequency,
tourism industry was
traveling
in
through the
chaos.
water from somewhere
Cairns
beyond
depends on
our
reef
lights.
access, and
Not
closing 40
mechanical,
miles of it
not whale
meant
song
millions in
or
lost
dolphin
revenue.
clicks, which I
Pressure
knew
mounted
well.
for answers,
Something
resolution,
between a hum
for
and a
anything
word,
that would let them
rising
reopen
and
the sites.
falling in pitch with a
That's
pattern
when I
that felt
proposed the
intentional.
research expedition.
My safety
If something
divers
was
heard
in
it
those
too.
waters, something
I could see them
territorial
turning,
and aggressive
trying to
enough
locate
move
where it came
divers,
from.
Then I needed
The
to
sound
observe it
repeated
directly,
3 times,
not with a quick
each
dive
slightly
at bright
different,
heights that would scare
like
off
someone
anything
testing
with sense. I
variations
needed
of a
to draw it
phrase.
out, to study it
Then
the
it
way I'd
stopped.
study any apex
We waited
predator,
for 5 minutes in
bait,
silence,
cameras,
then surfaced.
patience.
Back
The
on the
AMSA
boat,
approved my
neither of
proposal
my
on March
safety
29th.
divers would admit
They
what
gave
they
me
had
2
heard.
weeks, a research
They
vessel,
both said it was
and
probably a
authorization
whale
to use
in the
whatever
distance.
methods I deemed scientifically
Even though
necessary.
humpback migration season had ended 2
Answers.
months earlier,
They wanted something they
I
could
did not
report to
push
the
it.
families, something they
I
could
had
use
seen
to
their
explain why
faces when
14
that
people
sound
had
came
vanished
through the
without a
water.
trace.
they
I
had
should
heard
have
the same
refused.
thing I had.
I should have told them that some
Something
questions
trying
don't
to
have answers.
communicate.
We're prepared to accept.
By the end of March,
But I was
the
35
total
years old,
disappearances
ambitious,
reached
and convinced that science could
14.
explain anything
The
if you observed
AMSA
it
suspended
long enough.
all-night
I was
diving
wrong.
operations
The
in the
Coral Star
affected
was a
area
48-foot research
indefinitely.
vessel owned
The
by the
tourism
university,
industry was
equipped
in
with
chaos.
wet labs, holding
Cairns
tanks,
depends
and
on reef
accommodation for
access,
6 people.
and closing
We
40
loaded her
miles
with
of it
equipment
meant
on April
millions
1st,
in lost
underwater
money.
camera arrays,
Pressure built for
sonar
answers,
systems,
for
shark
resolution,
bait stations,
for anything
sample
that would
collection
let them
gear,
reopen the
and enough
sites.
supplies for 2
That is
weeks
when
at
I
sea.
proposed the
The plan was
research
to anchor
expedition.
at 3 different sites
something
within the
was in those
disappearance zone,
waters,
deploy
something
bait lines
territorial
at
and
dusk,
aggressive
and
enough to be
monitor what
removing
came to feed
divers.
overnight.
Then I needed to
My
observe it
crew
directly,
consisted of 5
not
people.
with a quick dive and
Dr.
bright
Sarah
lights
Chen
that would
was a
scare off
postdoctoral
anything
researcher in
sense.
marine ecology
I
from the
needed to draw
university.
it out,
She'd
to
specialized
study
in
it the
reef
way I would
ecosystems
study any
and
top
nighttime predator
with
behavior.
bait, cameras,
Tom Bradshaw
and
was my
patience.
graduate student,
The
26
answer
years old.
approved my proposal.
The Coral
on
Star
March
was a
29th.
48-foot research
They gave
vessel
me 2 weeks,
owned by the university,
a research
equipped
vessel,
with wet labs,
and permission
holding
to
tanks,
use whatever
and
methods
accommodation
I thought
for
were
6 people.
scientifically necessary.
We loaded her with
They
equipment
wanted
on
answers.
April 1st.
They
Underwater
wanted
camera
something they could
arrays,
report to the
sonar
families.
systems, shark
Something
bait
they could
stations,
use to explain
sample
why
collection
14
gear,
people had
and enough
disappeared
supplies
without a
for
trace.
2 weeks at sea.
I should have refused.
The plan was to anchor at
I
3
should have told
different
them that
sites
some
within the
questions
disappearance
do
zone,
not have answers
deploy
we are
bait lines
prepared
at
to
dusk,
accept.
and monitor
But I
what
was
came to feed
35 years
overnight.
old, ambitious,
My crew
and
consisted of
convinced the
5
science
people.
could explain
Dr.
anything
Sarah
if
Chen
you
was a
observed it long
postdoctoral
enough. I was
researcher
wrong.
in marine ecology from
The
the
Coral
university.
Star was a
She
48-foot research
specialized in
vessel
reef
owned by
ecosystems
the university,
and nighttime predator
equipped
behavior.
with wet labs,
Tom Bradshaw
holding tanks,
was my graduate
and room
student,
for 6
26
people.
years old,
We
working on
loaded
his
her with
thesis about
equipment
shark
on
sensory
April
systems.
1st.
The
Underwater
documentary
camera
filmmaker was
systems,
Nina Kowalski,
sonar systems,
hired by the
shark
IAMSA
bait
to
stations,
record whatever we
sample
found.
collection gear.
They wanted footage for the
and enough
families, for the
supplies for
media,
2 weeks
for
at sea.
proof that they'd done everything
The plan
possible
was to
to
anchor
investigate.
at 3
Our
different
2
sites
dive masters
within the
were
disappearance
brothers,
zone.
James and
Put
Robert
out
Ewing,
bait lines at
both
dusk,
indigenous Australians
monitor
from
what
the
came to feed
Gimui Walubara
overnight.
Yidinji
My
people,
crew had 5
who'd lived
people.
along this coast for
Dr.
thousands
Sarah
of years.
Chen
They'd
was a
worked as
postdoctoral
commercial dive
researcher
instructors
in
for
marine
15
ecology
years
from the
and knew
university.
these reefs better
She
than
had
anyone.
specialized in reef
I'd
ecosystems
specifically
and
requested
nighttime
indigenous
predator
guides
behavior.
because I wanted
Tom
local
Bradshaw
knowledge,
was my graduate
traditional
student,
understanding of the waters
26 years
that
old,
might not appear in
working
scientific
on his
literature.
thesis about shark
During our
sensory
first
systems.
planning meeting on the boat,
The
Robert
documentary
asked me a
filmmaker
question I
was
should have
Nina
paid more
Kowalski,
attention to.
hired
You
by
ever
the
heard of
IAMSA
Yacht?
to
He
record
said.
whatever we found.
I shook my head.
They wanted
Sarah
footage
looked
for
up
the
from her equipment
families,
checklist,
for the media,
interested.
for proof
There
that
are
they had
spirits
done
in the
everything
water,
possible
Robert
to
continued.
investigate.
Our grandmothers
Our 2
told
dive
stories about
masters
them.
were brothers,
Women who live in
James
water holes
and
and
Robert
deep
Ewing,
ocean.
both
They're
indigenous
guardians.
Australians
They protect
from the
sacred
Gimi
places.
Walubara Jidinji,
You don't go into their
people who had
territory
lived
without
along this
permission,
coast for
and you
thousands of
definitely
years.
don't hunt there.
They had worked as
You think
commercial
that's what's
dive
taking the
instructors for
divers? Tom
15
asked.
years.
He said it
I
with the
knew
kind of
these reefs
skeptical
better than
politeness that
anyone.
academics use
I
when
had specifically
discussing folklore.
requested indigenous
I
guides
think there's parts
because I
of the
wanted
reef that have
local
always been
knowledge,
closed, James said.
traditional understanding
voice was
of the
quieter
waters
than his
that might
brother's,
not
more
appear in
careful.
scientific books.
Not closed
During
by
our
law,
first planning,
closed by respect.
Meeting on the boat,
People used to know which places you
Robert
didn't
asked
fish,
me a question
didn't swim,
I should have paid
didn't
more
hunt.
attention to.
Maybe we forgot.
You ever heard
Maybe
of
that's
Yok
the problem.
Yok? He said.
I told them
I
I'd
shook
keep
my
an
head.
open mind, but that
Sarah
we needed
looked up from her
empirical
equipment
data,
checklist,
observable
interested.
phenomena,
There are
something
spirits
we
in
could
the water,
measure and
Robert
document.
continued.
Robert
Our
nodded,
grandmothers
but didn't
told
look
stories
convinced.
about them.
Looking back,
Women
I
who
realized
live
he was
in
trying to
water
warn
holes
us in
and
the
deep
only way he
ocean.
could, without
They are
sounding like he
guardians.
believed in myths.
They protect
He knew
sacred
something
places.
was in those waters.
You don't go
He
into
knew
their
his
territory
grandmother's
without
stories
permission.
existed for a
And you
reason.
definitely don't hunt
We departed
there.
Cairns Harbor at 6
think that's
a.m.
what's
on
taking
April
the
2nd
divers?
and reached our
Tom
first
asked.
anchor point by 9:30 a.m.
He said it with the
Flynn
kind
Reef,
of polite
the
doubt
site where
that
Colin
academics
Ashworth
use
had
when
vanished.
discussing folklore.
The water was clear
I
that
think
morning,
there are parts of the
visibility
reef that have
extending
always
down
been
past
closed,
100 feet.
James said.
Sarah and I did
His
a
voice
survey
was
dive
quieter than
at
his
noon
brother's,
to familiarize
more careful.
ourselves with the bottom
Not
topography
closed by law,
and identify good
closed
locations
by
for
respect.
camera placement.
People used to
reef
know which
looked
places
healthy.
you didn't fish,
Dense coral
didn't
formations,
swim, didn't
abundant
hunt.
fish populations,
Maybe
the
we
normal
forgot.
ecosystem activity
Maybe
you'd
that's
expect.
the problem.
Nothing
I
seemed
told
wrong,
them I would
nothing
keep
felt
an open
dangerous.
mind, but that
We
we
placed
needed
4
hard
cameras
data,
at different points around the
observable
site,
things,
each with
something
infrared
we could
capability
measure
for night
and
recording.
document.
Back on the boat,
Robert nodded,
Nina set
but
up
did
the
not look
monitoring
convinced.
station where we could watch all
Looking
4
back,
feeds
I realized he was
simultaneously.
trying to warn
At
us
4
in
p.m.
the
we
only
began
way he
preparing the
could,
bait.
without
I
sounding
brought
like he
frozen
believed
tuna
in
and
myths.
mackerel, standard
He
shark
knew something
practice.
was in
We
those
attached the bait
waters.
to heavy lines with
He
steel
knew his
leaders
grandmother's
and deployed
stories
them at 3
existed for a
locations
reason.
around our anchor point,
We left
each
Cairns
descending to
Harbor at 6 a.m. on April 2nd and reached our first anchor point by 9:30 a.m.
Whatever came
Flynn
to feed
Reef,
would be
the
substantial.
site where Colin
By
Ashworth
6
had
p.m.,
disappeared.
the sun was setting.
The water was
The water
clear that
darkened
morning.
from blue to black.
Visibility going down
We'd agreed
past
on a watch
100 feet.
rotation.
Sarah
and I
and
would
Chris
take
did
the
a
first
survey
shift from
dive
6
at
p.m.
noon
to
to get
midnight,
familiar with the bottom
monitoring the
layout
camera feeds.
and identify
Tom
good
and Nina would take
locations for
midnight
camera
to 6
placement.
a.m. James
The
and
reef
Robert
looked
would
healthy.
rotate in as needed,
Dense coral
and both would be
formations,
available
lots of
if we
fish
needed to
populations,
investigate
the
anything we saw
normal
on the
ecosystem
cameras.
activity you would expect.
Nothing happened for the first 3 hours.
Nothing seemed wrong.
The cameras showed occasional
Nothing
reef
felt
sharks,
dangerous.
a few smaller
We
fish
placed 4
investigating the
cameras
bait.
at different points around
Normal
the site,
activity.
each with
Sarah and
infrared
I drank
ability
coffee
for
and
night
discussed
recording.
what we were really expecting
Back on the
to
boat,
find.
Nina
She
set up
thought
the
it might be a
monitoring
large
station
tiger
where we
shark,
could watch
possibly
all 4
injured or
feeds at the
sick,
same time.
behaving atypically.
At 4 p.m.,
I
we
was
began
less certain.
preparing the bait.
The pattern of
I
disappearances
had brought
felt
frozen
too
tuna
deliberate,
and
too
mackerel,
selective.
standard
At
shark.
9:47 p.m.,
We attached the
line
bait
on
to heavy
camera 3
lines
went
with steel
taut.
leaders
The line
and put
was
them
rated
out
for
at 3
800
locations
pounds of
around
pull.
our anchor point.
It stretched nearly
Each going
horizontal,
down to
pointing
about
down
60
into the
feet.
darkness beyond the
The
camera's
hooks were
infrared
large,
range.
designed for
Whatever
catching
had
great
taken the
whites.
bait was strong and moving
Whatever
away
came
from
to
the reef.
feed would be big
I
dot.
called Tom and Nina
By
up
6
from their bunks.
p.m., the
All
sun was
5 of us
setting.
gathered around the
The
monitors,
water darkened
watching the
from
line
blue
strain.
to black.
On camera 4, positioned
We had
40
agreed on a
meters
watch
away,
rotation.
we could see the water
Sarah
turning
and I
something
would take the
large and
first
scratchy
shift
below
from
the
6
visible
p.m. to
depth.
midnight,
The movement
monitoring
was
the
violent,
camera
but
feeds.
controlled, not
Tom
the
and
chaotic
Nina would
frenzy
take
of a hooked
midnight to
shark.
6 a.m.
It felt more like
James
something
and
trying to
Robert
pull
would
free,
rotate in
while
as
also
needed,
testing the strength
and
that
both
held
would be
it.
available if we
Should we
needed to
bring it up?
investigate.
Tom asked.
Anything
I
we saw on the
hesitated. Standard
cameras.
protocol would
Nothing
be to
happened
haul
for
in
the first
line,
3 hours.
see what we caught.
The cameras showed
tag it if it was a
occasional
shark,
reef
release
sharks,
it, and
a few
continue
smaller
monitoring.
fish investigating
But
the
something
bait.
about the movement patterns
Normal
made
activity.
me cautious. The pulling
Sarah and I
rhythmic
drank
intervals.
coffee and
Test it
discussed what
rather
we
than
were really
panic.
expecting to
Let's
find.
wait, I said.
She
Let
thought it
tire
might be a
itself
large
out.
tiger
I
shark,
want to see how it
possibly
behaves.
injured or sick.
For 20
behaving
minutes, we
strangely.
watched the line
I was
strain
less sure.
and relax,
The
strain
pattern of
and
disappearances
relax. The force
felt too
nearly
deliberate.
capsized us.
Too
The entire
selective.
boat
At
lurched to
9:47
starboard as the
p.m.,
bait line on
the bait
camera
line
2
on
went
camera
rigid.
3 went
Tom
tight.
fell against the bulkhead.
The line was rated
Nina's
for
camera
800
equipment
pounds
slid
of pull.
across the deck.
It
I
stretched
grabbed the rail
nearly
and looked over
horizontal,
the side,
pointing
where the
down
line cut
into the
into the water
darkness
at a
beyond the
60-degree
camera's
angle,
infrared
vibrating
range.
with tension.
Whatever
It's going
had
to
taken
snap
the
the
bait
cleat,
was
James
strong
shouted.
and moving
He was
away
already
from the
moving
reef.
toward the winch
I
controls,
called Tom
but
and Nina
Robert
up
caught
from
his
their
arm.
bunks.
Don't bring it up,
All
Robert
5
said.
of us
His
gathered
voice was
around the
urgent.
monitors,
Marcus, don't bring it
watching
up.
the line strain.
I was already at the
On
winch.
camera 4,
Every instinct
positioned
I
40
had as a
meters
marine
away,
biologist
we
said
could see
to
the water
retrieve whatever
churning
was on
where
that
something
line.
large was
This was what
thrashing
we'd come
below
here
the
for.
visible
This
depth.
was the answer.
The movement was
14
violent but
disappearances.
controlled,
I
not the wild
activated the
frenzy
motor.
of a
Winch
hooked
closed.
shark.
The line
It felt
rose
more
inch
like
by
something
inch,
trying
the
to
motor
pull
straining
free
against
while
whatever
also
was
testing
back.
the strength of what
At
held it.
3:02 a.m.,
Should we
saw
bring
the
it
net
up?
breaking the surface.
Tom asked.
We'd attached a
I
mesh
hesitated.
bag below the hook to capture
Standard
anything we
rules would
caught,
be to pull
and
in the
something was
line,
tangled there.
see what we had
Something
caught,
pale gray,
tag it if it was a
thrashing
shark,
in the underwater
release
light
it,
Nina had
and
aimed over the
continue
rail.
monitoring.
Stop the winch,
But something
Sarah
about the
said.
movement
Her
patterns
voice
made me
was
cautious.
flat, shocked.
The pulling
Marcus,
came in
stop.
rhythmic intervals,
I'd already said.
testing rather
We
than
were all
panicking.
staring at what we
Let's
pulled
wait,
from the water.
I said.
She was roughly the
Let it
size
tire
of a
itself
human adult,
out.
maybe 5
I
and a
want
half
to
feet
see how
long.
it behaves.
Her skin was smooth
For 20
and gray,
minutes,
with a
we
faint
watched the
sheen
line
that
strain
reflected
and
our
relax.
lights like mother of
Strain
pearl.
and
The body
relax.
structure was
The
humanoid.
force nearly
2
flipped us
arms,
over.
torso,
The
a
entire
head.
boat lurched to the
Proportions
right
were wrong.
as the bait line
The
on
arms
camera
were
2
longer,
went
the
rigid.
hands were webbed.
Tom fell
Torso
against the
tapered
wall.
into what might have been
Nina's
legs,
camera
or
equipment
might have
slid
been a
across the
tail.
deck.
Impossible to tell
I
with
grabbed the
everything
rail
tangled in
and
the
looked
netting.
over the side
Her face
where
was
the
the
line
worst
cut
part,
into the
almost
water
human.
at a
High
60-degree
cheekbones,
angle,
a defined nose,
vibrating
a
with
mouth that
tension.
could have passed for human.
It's going to
except for
snap the
width.
cleat,
The way
James
it opened
shouted.
too far at the corners.
He was already
She was
moving
bleeding.
toward the winch
The hooks had caught
controls,
her in the shoulder,
but Robert
and
caught his
along her
arm.
left side.
Don't bring
The
it up,
wounds leaked
Robert
dark
said.
fluid that mixed with
His voice
seawater
was urgent.
and dripped back into the ocean.
Marcus,
She wasn't
don't bring it
thrashing
up.
anymore.
I was
She was
already
watching
at the
us.
winch.
Her eyes were black.
Every instinct I
completely
had
black.
as a
No
marine
visible
biologist
iris or pupil,
said to
and
bring
they
up
moved from
whatever
face
was on
to
that
face with
line.
obvious intelligence.
This was what we had
Tom
come
leaned
here
over
for.
the rail and vomited.
This was the answer to 14 disappearances.
She had her
I turned turned on the motor.
Her hands
The
were
winch
shaking so
groaned.
badly the footage must have
The
been
line rose inch
unusable.
by inch,
Get a tarp,
the
I
motor
said.
straining
My voice
against
sounded
whatever
distant,
was
not my
pulling
own.
back.
Cover
At
her.
3:02
We need to get her into the
a.m.,
holding
we saw
tank.
the net
No,
breaking the
Mom
surface.
said, we need to cut her loose.
We had
right
attached
now.
a mesh
Cut the
bag
net
below
with
the
her.
hook to capture anything we caught, and
Sarah
something was
staring at the
tangled in
creature
it.
with the
Something
expression of
pale
someone
grey,
watching their
thrashing
entire
in the underwater
understanding of
lights
biology
Nina had aimed over
rewrite
the rail.
itself.
"Stop
This
the
is a
winch,"
living cryptid.
Sarah said.
This is proof
Her
of
voice
species
was
science
flat,
doesn't even have a
shocked.
classification for.
Marcus,
You can't just
stop.
The creature
I had
is
already
sound,
stopped.
not a scream,
We were
not a
all
cry.
staring at what we had
A
pulled from the
vocalization that
water.
had structure,
She was
rhythm,
roughly the size
intention.
of a human
It
adult,
came from her throat,
maybe
that
5.5
resonated at a
feet long.
frequency. That
Her
made my
skin
teeth
was smooth,
ache.
grey,
The sound rose
with a
and
faint
fell
shine
3
that
times,
reflected our
each
lights
repetition
like
slightly
mother of
different,
pearl.
and I realized
The
with
body
a shock
structure was
that
like a
felt
human.
like cold water in my
2
veins
arms,
that
a
I'd
body,
heard this
a head.
before.
But
This
the
was the sound
proportions
from
were
my
wrong.
dive at Flynn Reef.
The arms were longer.
This was what I'd heard
The hands
while
were
standing
webbed.
on the bottom with my safety
The body
divers.
tapered
She
into
was
what
calling,
might have been legs,
calling for something
or
in the
might
water
have been a
below us.
tail.
Get her in the tank
Impossible
now,
to
I
tell
said.
with everything tangled
James, help me
in
lift the
netting.
net.
Her face
Robert
was the worst
stepped
part.
back, shaking his head.
Almost human.
You're making a
High
mistake.
cheekbones.
You're all making
a
a
defined
mistake.
nose.
But James
A
helped
mouth
me.
that could have
We
passed
lifted
for
the net,
human,
the creature
except
still
for the
tangled
width,
inside,
the way it
bleeding
opened too
and watching
far
us with
at the
those
corners.
black eyes.
She
And we
was
carried her
bleeding.
across the deck to the
The hooks
research
had
tank.
caught her in the shoulder
It was a
and
circular
along her
pool,
left side.
12 feet in diameter,
The wounds
filled
leaked
with
dark fluid
recirculated
that mixed with
seawater.
seawater
We used
and
it for
dripped back into
temporarily
the
holding
ocean.
specimens
She was
during
not
tagging
thrashing
research.
anymore.
We lowered the net
She
into
was
the
watching
water
us.
and carefully cut it
Her
away
eyes
from
were
her body.
black,
The hooks were
completely
embedded
black.
deep.
No
I
visible
used
iris
surgical
or
pliers
pupil,
to extract
and they
them
moved
while
from
Sarah
face to
held her
face
still.
with obvious
The creature
intelligence.
didn't fight.
Tom
She
leaned over
watched
the
my
rail
hands work,
and threw up.
and when I pulled the
Jesus
second hook
Christ,
from her shoulder,
Nina whispered.
she made a sound
She
that
had
was
her camera up,
unmistakably pain,
filming.
not animal
Her
pain.
hands were shaking
Conscious,
so badly,
aware
the
pain
footage
that
must have been
expected
unusable.
empathy. I'm sorry,
Get a tarp,
I said. I don't know why I
My
said it.
voice sounded
I'm
distant,
sorry, we're going to help you.
not my own.
Once
Cover
the hooks
her.
were out,
We need to
retreated
get
from the
her
tank.
into the holding
The
tank.
creature sank to the bottom
Robert
and curled
said.
there. Her
We
webbed
need to
hands
cut her
pressed
loose
against the
right
wounds.
now.
Sarah
Cut
was
the
already
net
preparing
and let her go.
antibiotics, antiseptics,
Are you insane?
anything we could use to
Sarah
prevent
was
infection.
staring at the creature
Nina
with the
filmed
expression
everything.
of someone watching
stood
their
at the
entire
rail, staring
understanding
down
of
into the
biology
ocean, not
rewrite
speaking.
itself.
Robert had gone
This
below
is a
deck.
living
James stood with his
This
arms
is
crossed,
proof of a
watching the
species
tank with an
science
expression of
doesn't even
relief.
have a
We
classification
need to
for.
call this in.
We
Sarah
can't
said.
just.
The
The
university
creature made a
and
sound.
Someone needs
Not a
to know
scream,
what we have.
not a cry.
In the morning,
A sound that had
let's
structure,
stabilize her first.
rhythm,
Let's
intention.
make sure she survives.
It came from her
At
throat,
4:15
but vibrated
a.m.
at a
she
frequency
surfaced.
that
Her
made
head
my
broke the
teeth
water,
ache.
and she looked
The
directly
sound
at me.
rose and fell
Then she
3
opened her mouth
times.
and repeated the
Each
last words
repetition
I'd spoken
slightly
in
different.
my exact voice.
And I realized with a
I'm
shock
sorry.
that felt
None
like
of us
cold
slept
water
after
in my
that.
veins that
We
I had
stood
heard
around
this
the
before.
tank as the sun came up,
This
watching
was the
her
sound
watch us.
from my dive.
She
at
remained
Flynn
at the
Reef.
bottom for most of the morning,
This was what I had
occasionally
heard
surfacing
while
to
standing
breathe.
on the bottom
None
of
of
my
us slept
safety
after
divers. She was calling.
We stood around the
Calling
tank as
for
the sun
something
came up,
in the water
watching
below
her
us.
watch us. She
Get her
remained
in
at
the
the
tank
bottom for
now,
most of the
I
morning,
said.
occasionally surfacing
James,
to breathe.
help me lift the net.
Her respiratory system
Robert
appeared
stepped
to be
back, shaking
amphibious,
his head.
capable of extracting
making a
oxygen
mistake.
from both air and
You're
water,
all making a
though she
mistake.
seemed to prefer staying
James helped
submerged.
me.
The
We
wounds
lifted the
had
net.
stopped bleeding,
The creature
but I couldn't
still
tell if that
tangled
was
inside,
natural clotting or if we
bleeding
should be
and
more
watching
concerned.
us with those black eyes.
At 7:30
And
a.m.,
we
Sarah
carried her
tried to
across the
feed her.
deck to the
She
research
prepared a
tank.
mixture of raw fish
It was a
and
circular
squid,
pool,
the standard diet we
12
use
feet
for captive
across,
sharks.
filled with
creature ignored
circulating
it.
seawater.
Sarah left the food
We
floating
used
in
it
the
for
tank
temporarily
and stepped
holding
back.
specimens.
For 20 minutes,
During tagging
nothing
research,
happened.
we
Then the
lowered the
creature
net
rose,
into the water
examined the food
and
with her
carefully cut
hands
it away
rather
from
than her
body.
mouth, and pushed it
hooks
to the
were
edge of the
embedded
tank
deep.
nearest to where
I
Sarah
used
stood.
surgical pliers to
He's
pull them
refusing
out
it, Tom
while
said.
Sarah held her still.
Or returning it,
The
James
creature
said quietly.
did not fight.
Like you're refusing
She
her.
watched my hands work.
I understood what he
And when I
meant.
pulled the second
gesture
hook
had been
from her
deliberate,
shoulder,
conscious.
she made a sound
This
that
wasn't
was
an animal
unmistakably
rejecting
pain.
unfamiliar food. This
Not
was
animal pain.
communication, a refusal,
Conscious,
possibly
aware
even an
pain
insult.
that expected empathy.
At 9 a.m., I
I'm sorry,
decided we
I
needed
said.
to establish some form
I
of
don't know
dialogue.
why I said it.
I pulled a
I'm
chair
sorry.
to the edge of the tank
We're
and
going
sat
to
where
help
she
you.
could see me clearly.
Once the hooks
She
were
was
out,
at the bottom,
we
curled in the
moved
same
back from the
position,
tank.
but her eyes
The
tracked
creature
my
sank
movement.
to the bottom
I
and
raised my
curled there.
hand slowly.
Her webbed hands
waved.
pressed against the wounds.
A simple, universal
Sarah
gesture
was
of greeting.
already preparing
She didn't
antibiotics,
respond.
Antiseptics.
I tried again. Still
Anything
nothing.
we could use to
Then I
prevent
lowered my
infection.
hand and simply sat,
Nina filmed
watching
everything.
her watch me.
Tom stood at the
After
rail,
5 minutes, she
staring down
uncurled
into the
slightly.
ocean, not
After
speaking.
10 minutes, she rose
Robert
to the
had
middle
gone
depth
below
of the
deck.
tank, suspended in the
James
water,
stood with his
still
arms
watching.
crossed. watching the
pointed to
tank
myself.
with an expression
Marcus,
I could not
I
read.
said clearly.
We need
Then
to
I
call this
pointed to her
in, Sarah
and
said.
raised my eyebrows
The
in question.
university,
She tilted her
AMSA.
head.
Someone
The
needs to
movement
know
was
what we
eerily
have.
Human. Then she
In the
opened her
morning,
mouth
I
and
said,
repeated my voice
let's
exactly.
stabilize her first.
Marcus, Sarah
Let's
had
make
joined me
sure
at the
she
tank's
survives.
edge. She's mimicking
At
me,
4:15
like a
a.m.,
parrot.
she
Parrots
surfaced.
don't mimic context.
Her head broke the
I
water,
pointed to myself
and she
again.
looked directly
Marcus.
at me.
Then
she
to
opened
Sarah.
her mouth
Sarah.
and
I
repeated the
pointed to
last
the
words
creature.
I had spoken
Waited.
in my exact
She rose
voice.
further, her head
I'm
breaking
sorry,
the surface.
none of us slept
Water
after
ran
that.
from her face.
We
She
stood
looked
around
at
the
Sarah,
tank as the
then
sun
at
came
me.
up,
When
watching
she
her
spoke,
watch us.
She used both our voices.
She stayed at the bottom
layered
for most of the morning,
Marcus,
occasionally
Sarah.
surfacing to
Then she
breathe.
pointed at herself with
Her
one
breathing
red hand.
system
The
appeared to be
gesture was
amphibious,
so human, so
able to pull
unmistakably
oxygen from
intentional,
both air
that I
and
felt
water,
something in my chest.
though she seemed to prefer
She
staying
understood
underwater.
pointing.
The
She
wounds
understood
had
the
stopped
exchange.
bleeding,
She was trying to
but
tell
I
us
could not
something,
tell
but
if
she
that was
didn't have a
natural
word for
plotting,
herself that we could comprehend.
or if we should be more concerned.
We need a name, Tom said.
At 7:30
He'd been
a.m.,
standing behind us,
Sarah
filming
tried to
with
feed
Nina's
her.
camera.
She
We
had
can't
prepared a
keep
mixture
calling her
of
the
raw
creature.
fish and squid,
She
the standard
probably has a
diet we
name,
used
James
for
said,
captive
in
sharks.
whatever language her people
The creature
use.
ignored
Her
it.
people. The
Sarah
phrase
left
hung
the
in
food
air.
floating in the tank
If she
and
existed,
stepped
there were
back.
more. There had
For
to be
20
more.
minutes,
And if there
nothing
were more,
happened.
then what we'd
Then the
caught
creature
wasn't
rose,
just a
examined the
biological
food with her
specimen.
hands
It
rather
was a
than her
person,
mouth,
a thinking,
and pushed it
feeling
to the edge
individual
of
from
the
a
tank
population
nearest to where
we'd
Sarah
never known
stood.
existed.
She's refusing
I
it,
spent the rest
Tom
of that
said.
morning trying to establish
returning
basic
it,
communication.
James said
I
quietly.
used simple words
Like you're
and
refusing
gestures,
her.
repeating them
I understood
until she
what he
started
meant.
mimicking them back.
The gesture
Yes,
had been
no food,
deliberate,
water, pain,
conscious.
help. She learned quickly,
This was not
too
an
quickly
animal
for random
rejecting
mimicry.
unfamiliar food.
By noon, she could
This
respond
was
to yes or no
communication.
questions with reasonable accuracy.
A refusal,
nodding,
possibly
or shaking
even
her head
an
in the same
insult.
way humans do.
At 9 a.m., I decided we
Head shake.
needed to establish
No,
some
are you hungry?
form of dialogue.
Long pause.
I pulled
then
the
a
chair
nod.
to the edge of the tank
Yes.
and sat where she could see
Understand
me clearly.
Another pause. Longer.
She was at the
Then
bottom,
she spoke in my voice
curled in
softly.
the same position,
Understand.
but her eyes tracked
At
my
1 p.m. I
movement.
tried something different.
I raised my
brought
hand slowly
photographs.
and waved,
We'd been
a
given
simple,
files on all
universal
14
gesture
missing
of
divers,
greeting.
part of the investigation
She did not
materials.
respond.
I
I
held
tried
up the
again.
first photo, Colin
Still
Ashworth,
nothing.
and showed it to her.
Then I lowered my
Her
hand
reaction
and
was
simply
immediate.
sat,
She
watching her
retreated
watch
to
me.
the far side of the tank,
After 5
sinking
minutes,
to the bottom.
she
She
uncurled
made that sound
slightly.
again, the low vocalization
After
that
10
resonated
minutes,
in my chest.
she rose to the middle
But this
depth
time
of the
it was
tank.
different.
Hanging in the
Rhythmic,
water,
repetitive,
still
rising
watching,
and falling
I pointed
like a
to
chant for a
myself.
song. It
Marcus,
lasted for nearly
I said
a minute.
clearly.
What is she
Then
doing?
I pointed
Nina
to her
asked.
and raised
She
my
was
eyebrows
recording
in
everything.
question.
Her camera
She
trained on
tilted
the
her
tank.
head.
I think
The
she's
movement
grieving,
was eerily
Sarah said.
human.
I showed
Then
her
she
the next
opened her
photo.
mouth and
Marcus
repeated my
fled.
voice exactly.
Same reaction.
Marcus,
Retreat.
Sarah had
Sound.
joined me at
That
the tank's
terrible
edge.
Rhythmic grieving.
She's mimicking you.
I went through all
Like a parrot.
14 photos. Every
Parrots
single
don't
one
mimic
produced the same
context,
response.
I said.
By the time I finished,
I pointed
the
to
creature
myself
had curled
again.
at the bottom of the tank,
Marcus.
her arms wrapped
Then I
around
pointed to
herself,
Sarah.
making that sound
Sarah,
continuously.
I pointed to the
I
creature.
confirmed what I'd suspected.
Waited.
She
She
knew about
rose
the
further,
missing divers.
her head breaking
She knew
the
what had
surface.
happened to them.
Water
At 3
ran
p.m.,
from
I
her
tried
face.
to ask her directly.
She looked at
I sat
Sarah,
at the edge of
then
the
at
tank,
me.
the photograph spread
When she
before me.
spoke, she
She
used
was
both
still
our
at the bottom,
voices,
quiet now,
layered
watching.
somehow.
I pointed
Marcus,
to the photos,
Sarah.
gestured around us
Then
at
she
the ocean.
pointed at herself with
Where are
one
they?
webbed hand.
Then she raised one
The gesture
webbed
was so
hand
human,
and pointed down,
so unmistakably
down into
intentional,
the water
that
below
I felt
our
something
boat,
in my
down
chest
into the
tighten.
depths of the reef.
She understood,
They're
pointing.
down there? I asked.
She understood
Below
the
us?
exchange.
She nodded.
She was trying to
Then
tell us
she did
something,
something I didn't expect.
but she did not have a word
She
for
pressed her
herself
palm
that
against
we
the
could
glass
understand.
side of the tank.
We
and
need a
hummed.
name, Tom
Not
said.
the grieving sound.
He had been standing
something
behind
else.
us, filming
A single
with Nina's
sustained
camera.
note that made the
We
water in
can't
the
keep
tank
calling her the
vibrate.
creature.
I felt
She
it through the
probably
deck
has a
beneath
name,
my feet.
James said.
She held the note for
In
10
whatever
seconds,
language her people
then
use.
stopped and
Her
looked at me
people, the
expectantly.
phrase hung in the
I didn't
air.
understand.
If she
I shook my
existed,
head,
there were
frustrated.
more.
She tried
There
again,
had to be
pressing
more.
both hands to the glass,
And if there were more,
humming that
then
same
what
note,
we had
but
caught
varying
was
the
not just
pitch,
a biological
up and down
specimen.
in a pattern.
It was a
She was
person,
trying to show me
a thinking,
trying to
feeling
communicate something
individual
more
from a
complex than
population
yes
we
or
had never
no.
known existed.
On impulse,
I
pressed
spent the
my
rest of
palm
that
against the
morning
glass
trying
where
to
her
establish
hand was.
basic
The moment our
communication.
hands connected with
I
only
used
the
simple
tank wall
words
between
and
them,
gestures,
something
repeating them
changed.
until she started
The
copying
humming
them back.
intensified, but it wasn't just
Yes,
sound anymore.
no,
It was in
Food,
my head.
water,
Images,
pain,
sensations,
help.
emotions that weren't
She learned
mine.
quickly.
I saw darkness
Too quickly
in the water,
for random
caves in the
copying.
reef. I felt
By
territorial
noon,
anger,
she could respond
protective
to
rage.
yes or no
I saw lights
questions
descending,
with reasonable
human shapes
accuracy,
in tanks and cameras
nodding or
entering
shaking her
spaces
head
that were
in the
marked,
same way
claimed,
humans do.
sacred. I saw
Are
her
you in
people
pain?
defending their territory
Head
the
shake.
only way they knew
No.
how.
Are you
I
hungry?
jerked my hand back.
Long pause,
gasping.
then a nod.
The connection
Yes.
broke
Do
immediately.
you understand me?
The creature lowered her
Another
hands and
pause,
sank back to
longer.
the bottom of the tank.
Then she spoke
watching
in my
me with
voice,
what might have
softly.
been satisfaction
Understand.
or might have been resignation.
At 1 p.m.,
What happened?
I tried something
Sarah
different.
was at my side, concerned.
I brought
Marcus, what
photographs.
just happened?
We had
She
been
showed
given
me
files on all
My
14
voice
missing
was shaking.
divers,
She can
part of the
communicate
investigation
telepathically through
materials.
touch. She showed
I
me
held
what
up the
happened
first
to
photo,
divers.
Colin Ashworth, and showed it to
I looked at
her.
the photographs
Her
spread
reaction
across the
was
deck.
immediate.
14 faces.
She moved back to the
14
far
people
side of the
who
tank,
descended into
sinking
wrong
to the
waters
bottom.
at the wrong time.
She made that sound
need to let
again,
her go.
the low sound that
Right now,
vibrated in my
we need
chest.
to open the drains and let her
But this
go.
time, it was different.
Absolutely not.
Rhythmic,
Sarah said.
repetitive,
Marcus,
rising
this is the
and
most
falling
important
like a
biological
chant
discovery
or
of
a
the
song.
century. We can't
It
just-
lasted for nearly
they
a
weren't
minute.
accidents, I interrupted.
What is she doing?
Disappearances.
Nina
They
asked.
were territorial
She was
disputes.
recording
Her
everything.
people have been living in
Her
those
camera
reefs for
trained on the
generations,
tank.
and we've been
I think
pushing
she's
deeper into
grieving,
their territory
Sarah
with every
said.
dive,
I
every
showed
boat,
her
every
the next
fucking
photo.
underwater tourist attraction.
Marcus
They
Webb,
tried to
same
warn us.
reaction.
They tried to mark their
Retreat,
boundaries.
that
We
sound.
didn't understand.
That
so they
terrible
started removing
rhythmic
the
grieving.
divers who got too close.
I went through all 14
Removing them
photos.
how? Tom
Every
asked.
single one produced
I
the
looked
same
at the creature
response.
in the tank.
By the time I finished, the creature had curled
That's
at the
what I
bottom
need
of
to
the
ask
tank.
her, I said.
Her arms
I don't
wrapped
think I
around
want
herself,
the answer.
making that sound continuously.
I returned to
I
the
had
tank at
confirmed what
dusk.
I had suspected.
The others had gone
She
below
knew
to
about the
review
missing
Nina's
divers.
footage and debate
She
what
knew
we
what
should
had
do
happened
next.
to them.
Sarah
At 3
wanted to
p.m.,
contact the
I tried
university
to ask her
immediately.
directly.
Tom was
I sat
drafting a
at the
paper
edge
in
of the
his head,
tank, with the
already
photographs
imagining
spread in front of
career-defining
me.
publication.
She was still at the
Nina had
bottom,
enough footage to
quiet
change
now,
marine biology
watching.
forever.
I pointed
Only
to the
James
photos,
and Robert had
then
stayed
gestured
silent,
around us at
watching
the
me with
ocean.
expressions that said
Where are they?
they'd expected
She
this
raised
all
one
along.
webbed hand
I
and
sat at the
pointed
edge
down
of the
into the
tank with
water
a
below
notebook
our
and
boat.
pen. The
Down
creature
into the
rose to
depths
meet
of the
me,
reef.
her black eyes
There, down
reflecting
there.
the last
I
light of
asked.
sunset.
Below
I pressed
us.
my palm to the glass.
She nodded.
She hesitated,
Then she did
pressed hers to
something I did
match.
not expect.
The connection opened like
She
a door
pressed
in
her
my
palm
mind.
against the
This
glass
time,
side of the
I
tank
was ready
and
for it.
hummed.
The images
Not the
came
grieving
slower,
sound,
more controlled.
something else.
She was learning to communicate
A single held
with me,
note that made
adjusting
the
the
water
flow of
in the tank
information so I
vibrate.
wouldn't pull away again.
I felt it
I
through
saw
the
her
deck
people.
beneath my feet.
Dozens of them, maybe
She
more,
held the note for 10
living
seconds,
in the deeper caves,
then stopped
trenches
and
of
looked
the
at me
reef.
expectantly.
They were a community,
I did not
families
understand.
with structure and hierarchy
I shook my
couldn't
head,
fully grasp.
frustrated.
They'd been
She
there
tried
for
again,
generations,
pressing
long before
both hands
dive
to the
tourism,
glass,
long before
humming
modern
that same
boats.
note,
They
but
had
changing the
territory,
pitch up and
breeding
down
grounds
in a
in certain
pattern.
caves where their
She was
young
trying
were
to show me
vulnerable.
something,
Feeding areas
trying to
they
communicate
claimed
something
and
more
defended.
complex than yes
Sacred
or
spaces
no.
where they
On
mourned their
impulse,
dead.
I pressed my
Places marked
palm
with
against the
arrangements of
glass
shells
where her hand
and coral
was.
that I'd
The
probably
moment our
seen and
hands
dismissed
connected with
as
only the
natural
tank wall
formations.
between them,
She showed
something
me humans
changed.
descending with
The humming
lights
got
and
stronger,
cameras,
but it was
pushing
not
into the
just
breeding
sound
caves
anymore.
during mating season.
It was in my
She
head.
showed me boats
Images,
anchoring directly above their
sensations,
resting places,
emotions that
propellers
were not
churning the
mine.
water at depths
I
where
saw
her people tried to
darkness,
sleep.
deep water,
She showed me
caves
divers
in
with
the
spear
reef.
guns hunting fish
I
in their
felt
feeding
territorial
grounds, taking
anger,
prey they
protective
needed to
rage.
survive. Her people
I
had
saw
tried
lights
to warn
going
us.
down,
They'd moved
human
equipment,
shapes with
stolen
tanks and cameras entering
created sounds
spaces
in the
that were
water to
marked,
drive divers
claimed,
away. We'd
sacred.
interpreted these
I
as
saw her
mysteries,
people defending
strange
their territory
occurrences,
the
maybe
only way
pranks.
they knew how.
We'd never
I
considered
jerked my
they were
hand
messages.
back, gasping.
When the warnings failed,
The connection
we took
broke
more direct
immediately.
action.
The
She
creature
showed me
lowered her
Colin
hands
Ashworth
and sank
photographing
back
a
to the
moray
bottom of the
eel
tank,
that wasn't
watching
dead
me
at all,
with what
but
might
an
have been
entrance to a
satisfaction
nursery
or
cave.
might have been
She showed
resignation.
3 of her people emerging from the
happened?
darkness, surrounding
Sarah
him.
was at my
His
side,
light went out.
concerned.
Not broken,
Marcus,
extinguished.
what just happened?
They could do that somehow.
She showed me.
Disrupt
I
electrical
said.
systems with that same
My
humming
voice was
frequency
shaking.
I'd felt through the tank.
She can
In
communicate
the darkness,
telepathically
they'd taken
through no touch.
Pulled him down.
She showed me
into
what
caves where
happened to the
humans couldn't
divers.
follow without
What did you
specialized
see?
equipment.
I looked
didn't
at the
show me what
photographs
happened
spread
next.
across the deck.
The images stopped
14
there,
faces.
replaced by a feeling of grim
14 people
necessity.
who went down into the
Choices
wrong
made to
waters
protect
at the wrong
vulnerable
time.
young.
We need to let her go, I said. Right now, we need to open the drains and let her go. Absolutely not, Sarah said. Marcus, this is the most important biological discovery in a century. We can't just... They weren't accidents,
only to
I
realize too
interrupted.
late that the divers
The disappearances. They were
She felt guilt
territorial
about those
disputes.
two. I could sense
Her
it in
people
the emotional
have been living
undertone
in
of the
those
images.
reefs for
Her
generations.
people weren't monsters.
And we've been pushing
They were
deeper into their
intelligent beings
territory
trying
with
to
every
survive in
dive,
an environment
every boat,
we were slowly
every
colonizing
underwater
without
tourist
ever asking
attraction.
permission
They
or
tried to
understanding
warn us.
what we were displacing.
They tried to mark their
I
boundaries.
pulled my hand back.
We didn't
Connection
understand.
broke. I
So
sat
they
there
started
breathing
removing
hard,
the divers
my
who
notebook
got too
forgotten on my
close.
lap.
Removing
Why
them.
didn't you just leave?
Tom
I
asked
aloud.
quietly.
Why not move to deeper
How?
water, somewhere
I
humans
looked at the
don't go?
creature in the tank.
She couldn't answer
She looked
the
back at
words,
me,
so I pressed
waiting.
my palm to the
That's
glass.
what I need to ask her,
She showed
I
me the
said.
reef, the
But I don't
specific
think I
caves
want to
and
know the
formations
answer.
her people depended on.
I returned
These
to the
weren't
tank
just
at dusk.
territories, they were
The
home.
others had gone below
caves
to review
provided
Nina's
specific
footage
temperature
and
ranges
debate
for their
what we
eggs.
should do next.
The coral formations
Sarah
created
wanted to
current
contact
patterns
the
that
university
concentrated the prey they
immediately.
needed. The reef
Tom was
structure
already writing a
protected
paper
them
in his
from
head,
larger predators that
imagining the
hunted in open
career-defining
water.
publication.
Moving would mean
Nina
abandoning
had enough
generations
footage
of
to
knowledge,
change marine
specific
biology
adaptations
forever.
to this environment.
Only James
It
and
would mean
Robert had stayed
exposing
silent,
their young to
watching
new
me with
dangers,
expressions that
potentially
said they had
losing entire
expected this
bloodlines.
all
They
along.
couldn't just leave any more
I
than a
sat
human
at the
village
edge
could
of the tank
abandon their
with a
farmland
notebook
and
and
survive
pen.
in the Arctic.
The creature rose to meet
She
me,
showed me something
her
else.
black eyes
More
reflecting
humans
the
coming.
last light of
Every year,
sunset.
more boats,
I
more
pressed my
divers,
palm to the
more
glass.
lights pushing deeper.
She hesitated,
Her people were running
then
out
pressed
of space
hers
to
to
retreat
match.
to.
The
They were
connection
running out of
opened like
options
a door
that didn't
in my
involve
mind.
increasingly violent
This
defense
time,
of
I was
their
ready for
shrinking
it.
territory.
The images came
And
slow,
then she showed me
more
what was
controlled.
gathering in the water below
She was
our
learning
boat.
to communicate
At
with
least
me,
40 of her
adjusting
kind,
the flow of
waiting in the
information
darkness
so I would
beneath
not
the
pull
coral
away
star.
again.
They'd
I
been
saw
there
her
since we
people,
caught her, watching,
dozens of
listening,
them, maybe
waiting
more,
to see what we
living
would do
in the
with their
deeper
captured
caves
family.
and trenches of the
I felt
reef.
their collective anger,
They
their
were
fear,
a community,
their debate about whether to
families
attack the boat
with
or
structure
wait.
and order
Some
I
wanted
could
to
not
sink
fully
us immediately.
understand.
Others argued
They had
for
been
patience,
there for
to see if we could
generations,
be reasoned with.
long before dive
She'd been
tourism,
arguing on our
long
behalf,
before modern
telling them
boats.
through whatever
They
means
had
they used to
territories,
communicate across
breeding grounds in
distances,
certain
that I tried
caves
to help
where
her,
their young were
that I'd
vulnerable,
removed the hooks,
feeding
that some
areas
humans
they
might
had
be
claimed
different.
and defended,
But patience was
sacred
wearing
spaces
thin.
where
If
they
we didn't
mourned
release
their
her
dead,
soon, if we tried to
places
take her to
marked
land,
with
to a
arrangements of
facility,
shells and
to any
coral
place
that I
where
had
more
probably
humans could
seen
study her,
and dismissed
the
as
waiting
natural
group would act.
formations.
They'd sink
She
the
showed me
boat.
humans
They'd
going
pull us
down with
down
lights
into the
and
caves,
cameras,
and they'd make sure
pushing
no one ever
into the
found
breeding
our
caves
bodies,
during
or the
mating
research
season.
vessel, or any
She
evidence
showed
of
me
what we'd
boats
discovered.
anchoring directly
I pulled my
above their
hand
resting
away.
places,
I
propellers
won't
churning
lie.
the water
She
at
raised
depths
her webbed
where her
hand
people
and
tried to sleep.
extended 3 fingers.
She showed me divers
3
with
days.
spear guns,
In 3
hunting
days,
fish
she
in their
wasn't
feeding
free.
grounds,
They'd kill all of us.
taking prey
I
they
called a
needed to
meeting at
survive.
8 p.m. in the main
Her people
cabin.
had tried to
All
warn
6
us.
of us crowded around
They
the
had
small
moved
table
equipment,
where we
stolen
usually ate
cameras,
meals.
created
Nina had
sounds
her
in the
camera
water
off for
to
once,
drive divers
sensing
away.
this needed to be private.
We had
I
interpreted
told them
these as
everything I'd learned
mysteries,
through the
strange
telepathic
events,
connection.
maybe pranks.
I described her people,
We had
their
never
territories,
considered they were
their
messages.
reasons for the attacks.
When the warnings
I
failed,
explained about the 40
they took
waiting in
more
the water
direct
below
action.
us. Sarah
She
listened
showed me
with her
Colin
arms
Ashworth
crossed, her
photographing a
expression
Maori
cycling
eel den
between
that was not
fascination
a den
and
at all,
frustration.
but an entrance
So
to a
you're
nursery
saying these
cave.
creatures have been
She showed
systematically
3 of her
killing
people
divers
coming
to
out from the
protect their
darkness
territory.
surrounding him.
Defending,
His
James
light went
corrected
out,
quietly.
not
There's a
broken,
difference.
turned off.
14
They could do
people
that
are dead,
somehow.
Sarah said.
Stop electrical
I'm not sure the
systems with
semantics
that same
matter to their
humming
families.
frequency I had felt
And
through the
how many
tank.
of her people have
In the
died
darkness,
from boat propellers,
they had taken
fishing
him,
nets, pollution,
pulled him down
water
into the
nets.
caves
We don't
where
count those
humans
bodies.
could not follow without
This is
special
different,
equipment.
Tom said.
She did
These
not show
are
me what
intelligent
happened
beings.
next.
They can communicate.
The images
They
stopped there,
understand consequences.
replaced by a feeling
That makes
of grim
them
necessity,
responsible for
of
their
choices made to protect
Does it?
vulnerable
I
young.
asked. If
Not
someone
all
broke into
14
your home,
divers had
your
died for
nursery,
the same
and
reason.
you defended your children,
Some had been
would you be
warnings that got
responsible
worse.
or justified?
Some had been defending
The debate
territory
went in
during
circles for an hour.
important seasons.
Sarah argued worried for contacting
2
the
had been
authorities,
accidents.
bringing in specialists,
Cases of mistaken
creating a
threat where her
framework
people
for
had
peaceful
reacted with lethal
coexistence.
force to
Tom
what they
worried
thought was
about the
aggression,
implications for all
only
dive
to realize
tourism
too
in the
late
area.
that the divers were
Nina
harmless.
stayed quiet,
She felt guilt about those two. I could sense it in the emotional undertone of the images. Her people were not monsters. They were intelligent beings trying to survive in an environment. We were slowly taking over without ever asking permission or understanding what we were displacing. I pulled my hand back. The connection broke. I sat there, breathing hard. My notebook forgotten on my lap. Why didn't you just leave? I asked aloud. Why not move to deeper water, somewhere humans don't go? She could not answer with words, so I pressed my palm to the glass again. She showed me the reef, the specific caves and formations her people depended on. These were not just territories. They were home. The caves provided specific temperature ranges for their eggs. The coral formations created current patterns that concentrated the prey they needed. The reef structure protected them from larger predators that hunted in open water. Moving would mean abandoning generations of knowledge, specific adaptations to this environment. It would mean exposing their young to new dangers, potentially losing entire bloodlines. They could not just leave, any more than a human village could abandon their farmland and survive in the Arctic. She showed me something else. More humans coming. Every year, more boats, more divers,
claiming we telepathically communicated with a mermaid.
Her people were running out of space to retreat
from isolation.
They were running out of options that did not
without
involve
physical evidence, without the creature herself,
defense,
we have nothing but an incredible story.
And then she showed
and incredible
me what was
stories don't change
in the
policy or protect endangered species,
at least
especially
40
species that had killed 14
waiting
people.
In the darkness beneath
we have
the
Nina's
coral
footage,
star.
I said.
They had
Nina
been there since we caught her.
I reviewed
watching,
it this morning.
Listening,
the lighting was
waiting
terrible
to see
during the
what
capture.
we would do with their captured
something
family
in the net,
member.
something vaguely
I felt
humanoid,
their collective anger,
it's not clear enough to
their fear,
prove anything.
their debate about
it
whether
looks
to
like
attack
it could
the
be a
boat
large
or
fish
wait.
or a person in a costume.
Some wanted to
the
sink
footage
us
of her in the
immediately.
tank is better, but still
Others
ambiguous.
argued for patience.
Anyone could claim we
for seeing if we could be reasoned
so we have
with.
nothing, Sarah
She
said
had been
bitterly.
arguing on our
We
behalf,
make the most important
telling
zoological
them through
discovery
whatever
in
way
history,
they used to
and we have
communicate
nothing we
across
can take back.
distances that I
I
had
stood up
tried to
and
help
walked to the
her,
window.
that I had
creature
removed
had
the
turned in
hopes
the tank
that
and
some
was looking
humans
at me.
might be different.
Even from a distance,
But patience
I could feel
was
her
wearing
watching,
thin.
waiting for me
If we
to
did
make
not
a
release her
choice.
soon,
We have
if we
something
tried
better
to
than
take
proof,
her to
I said.
land, to
We
a
have a chance
facility,
to not
to
make
any
things
place
worse.
where more
I
humans
turned
could
back
study
to you.
her, the
Think
waiting
about what
group
happens
would
if we
act.
do report this.
They would
If
sink
we
the
somehow
boat.
convince authorities
They would pull us
that
down
an intelligent
into the
species
caves,
is living in these
and they
reefs,
would make sure no one
what
ever
comes
found
next?
our bodies,
Research
or the
vessels,
research vessel,
military involvement,
or any
capture
evidence
teams trying
of
to
what
bring
we
in
had
specimens,
discovered.
people trying to
I pulled my
establish
hand
contact,
away and looked at
establish
her.
territory,
How long
establish
do I
control.
have? She
We'd be
raised her
starting a
webbed
war
hand
between species,
and held up
and
three
her people
fingers.
are already losing ground.
3 days.
They're already desperate
In 3
enough to kill
days,
to protect
if
what
she was
little
not
territory
free,
they have left.
they would kill
So
all
we
of
just
us.
let 14 murders
I called
go
a meeting at
unanswered,
8 p.m.
Tom asked.
in the main
They
cabin.
weren't murders, James said.
All 6 of
They
us
were
crowded
territorial
around the
defense.
small table
And the
where
only
we
reason
usually
they
ate
happened
meals.
is because we kept
Nina
pushing
had her
into
camera
spaces
off
we've
for
been
once.
warned to avoid.
Sensing
We
this
just
needed
didn't
to be
recognize
private,
the warnings.
I told them
made my
everything I had
decision then.
learned through
We
the
release her
telepathic
tomorrow
connection.
At dawn. We document
I
in
described
our
her
official
people,
report that we
their
found evidence
territories,
of a large
their
predator,
reasons for the
possibly
attacks.
a new species of shark
I
or
explained
ray,
about the 40
exhibiting
waiting in
territorial
the water
behavior.
below us.
We recommend
Sarah
the
listened
affected
with
area
her
be
arms
closed
crossed,
to night diving
her expression
indefinitely,
cycling
with no
between
justification
fascination
beyond
and
precautionary
frustration.
principles.
So you're
Then we
saying
come
these
home and we never
creatures have been
speak
killing
about what we
divers
really
on
found.
purpose to protect
You
their
want us to
territory?
lie, Sarah said.
Defending,
I want
James
us to protect
corrected
the species
quietly.
we nearly destroyed
There's a
by being
difference.
exactly what we always are.
14 people are
Intrusive,
dead, Sarah
exploitative,
said.
and convinced that
I'm
our
not sure
right
the
to
details
explore
matter to their
outweighs
families,
everything else.
and how many of her people have died from boat
Can't agree to
propellers,
that?
fishing
You need to
nets,
tell the truth,
pollution.
I understand.
Robert
but know that
asked,
telling the truth means
"We don't
more
count
boats,
those
more
bodies.
interference,
This is
probably
different,"
the extinction
Tom
of our
said.
entire people within a
These
generation.
are intelligent
The
beings.
silence lasted a long
They can
time.
communicate.
Finally, Sarah
They understand
nodded.
consequences.
Then, Tom.
That makes them
Nina turned her
responsible for
camera
their
on
choices.
and filmed
Does it?
herself
I
deleting the
asked.
tank footage.
If
making
someone
it
broke
part of
into
the
your
official
home,
record that
your
she'd
nursery,
chosen to
and you
destroy
defended your
the
children,
evidence.
would you be
Only
responsible
Robert
or
spoke.
justified?
This is the right
The
choice,
debate
he
went
said.
in circles for
It's
an
about
hour.
50 years too late,
Sarah
but it's
argued
right.
for contacting the authorities,
I went up on deck and
bringing
sat
in
by the tank.
specialists,
The creature
creating a
rose to meet
structure
me.
for
I
peaceful
pressed my palm to the
coexistence.
glass and felt
Tom
her relief,
worried about the
her
meaning for
gratitude,
all dive
her
tourism in
fear
the
that I
area.
might change my mind.
Nina stayed
I showed her my
quiet, but I could see
intention.
her mind
Release at
working,
dawn, safety,
probably
freedom
calculating
to
the
return
value
to
of the
her.
story she was sitting on.
She showed me something
Robert
in
finally
return.
spoke up.
A memory of the reef.
My
before
grandmother
boats,
told me
before
stories
divers,
about Yok Yok
before the water
when I was
filled with
young.
engine noise.
She
and
said they used to have
artificial
agreements with our
light. Memory
people.
of peace.
We knew where not
Then
to
she
fish,
showed me one
where
more
not to
thing.
swim.
The divers' bodies
They knew we
preserved in a
respected
deep
their
cave
spaces.
system. Her people's
Then the
way of
Europeans
respecting
came
the
with
dead,
their boats
keeping
and their
them safe,
rules,
rather than
and
leaving
nobody
them
listened to the
scavengers.
old agreements.
The families could never know.
The Yok
Never
Yok
had closure.
got pushed back further
their
and
lost
further
ones weren't
until
alone.
there was nowhere left
I didn't
to
sleep
push.
that night. I
You're
sat
saying
on
this
deck
is
watching the
colonialism,
tank, watching
Sarah
the stars,
said.
thinking about
You're
the choice I
comparing
made.
marine territorial
Around
defense
midnight,
to
Sarah
land
joined me.
displacement.
She brought 2
I'm
cups
saying
of
it's
coffee
the same
and
pattern,
sat without
Robert
speaking
replied.
for a while.
Take
I
someone's
understand why you're doing
Ignore
this,
their
she finally
warnings.
said. I don't like
Act
it, but I
surprised when they
understand.
fight back.
We're going to
Then call
file a
them
report that
savages
closes
for
40
defending
miles of
what's
reef
theirs.
to night diving, I said.
I looked at the
That's
creature
something.
through the
That
cabin
gives them
window.
space.
She
For
was
how
visible
long?
on
Sarah
the tank
asked.
on deck,
10 years?
floating,
20?
motionless.
Eventually, someone's
watching
going to
the
push for
stars.
reopening. Tourism
The
money
question
always
isn't
wins.
whether they're
And
justified.
when they do,
I
this
said.
starts again.
The
She
question
was
is
right,
what we do now.
but I didn't have a better answer.
We have 3 days
We couldn't
before the
protect
group
the reef
below us
forever.
attacks.
We couldn't stop human expansion.
We can release her
All
and
we
walk
could do
away.
was buy time
Or
and hope
we can try to
that
document
somehow
this
her
and
people
probably
would find
die
a way
in
to
the process.
survive what
There's
we
a
brought
third
to their
option,
world.
Sarah said.
At 4 a.m., I
We
began
release her,
preparing for release.
and then we report
I
what
tested
we
the
found.
water quality in the tank.
We work with
checked the
authorities
creature's
to
wounds,
establish protected
made sure she was
zones,
strong enough to
no
travel.
dive areas,
The injuries
a
had
structure
healed
that
remarkably
respects their
fast.
territory
Her
while allowing
physiology
safe
apparently
human
adapted
access
for
to
rapid
other
recovery.
parts of the reef.
She watched
You
me
think
work
the
with
government will
patient
create
attention,
protected
occasionally
zones
making
based on our
soft
testimony?
sounds that might have been
Tom
approval
asked.
or gratitude.
Based on us claiming
The sun
we
rose at
telepathically
5:47
communicated with a
a.m.
mermaid.
I'd positioned
They'll
the
think we
boat at
lost
the
our
edge of
minds
the
from
deepest
isolation.
trench in the area,
He was
where her
right.
people could easily
Without
reach her.
physical evidence,
James helped me
without
rig a
the
sling
creature
to lift her
herself,
from the tank without
we had
causing
nothing
additional
but an
injury.
incredible story.
She remained calm
And incredible
throughout,
stories
trusting
do
us
not change
completely,
policy
or perhaps simply
protect
resigned to
endangered
whatever
species,
we chose to do.
especially
At
species that have
6:15
killed
a.m.,
14 people.
with all 6 of us on
We
deck,
have Nina's
we
footage,
lifted her from
I
the
said.
tank. She
Nina
was
shook her
heavier
head.
than she looked. Dense
reviewed it
muscle
this
and
morning.
bone adapted for deep
The lighting
water
was
pressure.
terrible during the
We
capture.
carried her to the rail
You can see
and
something
lowered
in
her
the
into
net,
the sling
something
that would take her
vaguely
down
like a
below
human.
the surface.
But it's not clear
Before we
enough to
released the
prove
sling,
anything.
I pressed my hand
It
to her
looks
arm
like it could be a
one
large
final
fish
time.
or a
The connection
person
opened.
in a costume.
She showed me
The footage
gratitude,
of her in
not
the
just
tank
from
is
her,
better,
but from
but
all of
still
them waiting
unclear.
below. She showed
Anyone
me hope
could claim we
that maybe
faked
some
it.
humans could learn.
So we
could
have
change,
nothing,
could
Sarah said
coexist.
bitterly.
Then she
We
showed
make
me
the
a
most
warning.
important
Others of my
zoological
kind would
discovery in
come,
history,
others who
and we
wouldn't
have
listen,
nothing we can
who
take
wouldn't
back.
stop. When
I
that
stood up
happened, her
and
people
walked
would
to the
defend
window.
themselves again.
The creature
The
had
cycle would
turned in the
continue
tank and
until
was
one
looking at me.
species or the other
Even
was
from a
gone.
distance, I could
understood.
feel her watching.
I released the connection
waiting for me
and
to make a
nodded to
choice.
James. He opened
We have
the sling.
something better than
She
proof,
slipped into the
he
water
said.
with barely a
We
splash.
have a chance to
her
not
gray
make
form
things worse.
disappearing into the blue
I
darkness
turned back to
within
the group.
seconds.
Think
We watched
about
the
what
water for a long
happens if
time,
we
but
do
she didn't
report this.
resurface. She was
If
gone,
we somehow convince
returned to her
authorities
people,
that an
safe for
intelligent
now.
species is living in
Did
these
we do the
reefs,
right thing?
what comes
Tom asked
next?
quietly.
Research
I don't know, I
vessels,
said.
military
But
involvement,
it's done.
capture teams trying
We
to
spent
bring
the
in
rest of that
specimens,
day collecting our
people
equipment,
trying to establish
retrieving the
contact,
cameras, dismantling
establish
the bait
territory,
stations.
establish
Nina
control.
recorded everything with
We would be
narration
starting a
about
war
predator
between
investigations
species,
and
and her
inconclusive
people
results.
are already losing ground.
We were building the official
They are
story,
already
the
desperate
version
enough
that
to
would
kill,
go into
to
reports
protect what little
and
territory
databases,
they have left.
large predator,
So we just let
territorial
14
behavior,
murders go
recommended
unanswered.
closure,
Tom
clean,
asked.
scientific,
They weren't
deliberately
murders,
vague.
James said.
At 2
They
p.m.,
were
something appeared in the
territorial
water near
defense.
the boat.
And
A
the
shell,
only reason reason they
large
happened
and perfect,
is because we
floating
kept
on the
pushing into
surface.
spaces
Then
we had been
another,
warned to avoid.
then a third.
We just didn't
They drifted
recognize the
toward us on a
warnings.
current that should have been
I
moving
made
the
my
opposite
decision
direction.
then.
Sarah
We
pulled them
release
aboard
her
with a
tomorrow
net.
at dawn.
Inside each shell
We
was a black
document in our
pearl,
official
perfectly
report that
round,
we found
obviously
evidence of a
placed there
large predator,
intentionally.
possibly a
They're
new
thanking
species
us,
of
she
shark
said.
or ray.
Robert
showing territorial
or paying us
behavior.
for her safe return.
We recommend
Either way,
the affected
it's an
area be
acknowledgement.
closed
They
to
know
night
what we
diving
did.
indefinitely,
I kept
with no
one
explanation
pearl,
beyond
gave one
safety
each to
principles.
Sarah and Tom.
Then we come
Nina
home,
refused hers,
and we never
saying
speak
it felt like
about
taking
what we
payment
really
for doing the
found.
bare minimum of
You want us to
decency.
lie, Sarah said.
Robert and James
I
kept
want
theirs,
us to protect a
but Robert
species
later
we
told me
almost
he'd
destroyed
leave his
by
at a
being
traditional
exactly
site
what we
as an
always
offering,
are.
maintaining the old
Intrusive,
agreements his grandmother had taught him
exploitative,
about.
and convinced that our right
We
to
reached
explore
Cairns
is
Harbor
more
on April
important than
9th.
everything else.
I filed my report
I looked
that
at each of
afternoon.
them.
Evidence
If
of
you
large
can't agree to
predator
that,
exhibiting
if you need to tell the
territorial
truth,
behavior,
I
insufficient
understand.
data to identify
But know
species,
that telling the truth
recommendation
means more
for
boats,
indefinite closure
more
of
interference,
affected area
and
to
probably
night
the
diving
extinction
operations.
of her entire
The
people
AMSA
within a
accepted the
generation.
report with obvious
The silence
disappointment.
lasted a long
They
time.
wanted answers,
Finally,
wanted closure for the
Sarah
families,
nodded.
wanted something concrete
Then
to
Tom.
justify the investigation.
Nina turned her
costs.
camera
What
on
they
and
got
filmed
was a
herself
vague
deleting
predator
the tank
warning
footage,
and a recommendation
making it
to
part
close
of the
fine
official
diving
record
territory.
that she had chosen to destroy
But they
the
implemented
evidence.
it anyway.
Only
because
Robert spoke.
14 deaths demanded
This
some
is the
response,
right choice,
and
he
closing
said.
the area was better than
It's about
admitting
50 years
they
too
had no
late,
idea
but it's
what
right.
really happened.
I went
The
up on
families
deck
never got real
and sat by
closure.
the tank.
The official line
creature
was that
rose
the
to
divers
meet
had
me.
encountered an
I pressed my
unknown
palm
marine
to the glass
predator,
and felt her
possibly a large
relief,
shark
her
or
gratitude,
ray-exhibiting
her
agent
lingering
behavior.
fear that I might change
Some
my
accepted
mind.
this.
I
Others
showed her
hired
my
private
intention.
investigators,
Release
demanded more
at dawn,
research, refused
safety,
to believe their loved ones
freedom
had
to
simply
return to her
been in the wrong
people.
place at the wrong
She showed
time.
me something in
I never
return,
told them the truth.
a memory of the reef
Your
before
husband died
boats,
defending someone
before
else's
divers,
nursery.
before
Your
the
daughter
water
was killed
filled with
protecting
engine
breeding
rooms
grounds.
and artificial
Your
light.
son was a casualty
A
in
memory of
territorial
peace.
dispute. He didn't
Then
even
she
know
showed
he was
me
part
one
of.
more thing.
The truth
The
wouldn't
divers'
have brought
bodies,
comfort.
preserved
It
in a
brought
deep
more
cave
questions,
system.
more boats, more
Her
intrusions
people's
of
way of
waters that
respecting
were
the
already
dead,
battlegrounds.
keeping them safe
Our
rather than
research
leaving
team
them to
disbanded
scavengers.
in 2 months.
The families
Sarah
could
took a
never
position
know,
in the Caribbean,
could never have
studying reef
closure.
restoration.
but at least their
Tom
lost
finished
ones
his
were not
PhD
alone in the
and
dark.
moved into aquaculture
I did not
research,
sleep that night.
deliberately choosing work that
I
kept
sat
him
on
away
deck,
from wild ocean
watching the
environments.
tank, watching the
Nina's
stars,
documentary was never
thinking
completed.
about the choice I
She
had
sold the
made.
remaining footage to
Around
a nature
midnight,
program that
Sarah
edited it
joined
into
me.
something
She brought 2
unrecognizable.
cups of coffee and
James
sat
and Robert
without
went back
speaking
to
for
their
a
work
while.
as dive instructors.
I understand
They
why
never
you're
took
doing
groups
this,
to that section
she
of reef
finally
again.
said.
They found
I don't
reasons
like
to
it,
avoid it,
but I
redirecting
understand.
tourist requests
We're
to
going
other
to
sites.
file a report that
Quietly
closes
maintained the
40 miles
boundaries
of
their
reef to
grandmothers
night diving,
had taught them to
I
respect,
said.
and I kept the secret.
That's
For
something.
23 years, I
That
kept
gives
the
them
secret.
space.
The nightmares started
How
about
long?
6 months after
Sarah
we
asked.
returned. Not
10
every night,
years,
but often
20.
enough. I dream
Eventually,
I was back in the
someone's
water,
going to push for
descending into the
reopening.
caves where her people
Tourism
live.
money
In the
always
dreams, I
wins.
could breathe underwater.
And when they do,
I could see in
this
the
starts
darkness,
again.
and I could see the
She
divers'
was right,
bodies preserved
but I
and
did not
arranged
have
with
a
care,
better answer.
their eyes open
We could
and
not
staring.
protect the reef forever.
I'd wake up gasping,
We could not
guilty
stop
for
human
reasons I
expansion.
couldn't fully articulate.
All we
We'd
could
done
do
the right
was buy
thing by
time
releasing
and
her.
hope that
We'd
somehow
protected a
her
species
people would
from
find a way to
exploitation
survive
and
what we had
probable
brought to their
extinction.
world.
But 14
At
people
4
were
a.m.,
still dead,
I began
and their
preparing
families
for
still
release.
had no real answers.
I tested
That
the water
weight
quality
never
in the
got
tank,
lighter.
checked the
I
creature's
stayed in
wounds,
marine biology,
made sure she
but
was strong
shifted my
enough to
focus.
travel.
I spent
The
the next
injuries
2
had healed
decades
remarkably
studying human
fast.
impact on ocean
Her body
ecosystems,
apparently adapted
publishing
for
papers
rapid
about
recovery.
habitat destruction,
She watched me work
territorial
with patient
displacement of
attention,
marine species,
occasionally
the
making
cumulative
soft
effects of
sounds
tourism on reef health.
that might have been approval
Everything I
or
wrote was
gratitude.
informed by what I'd learned
The sun
in
rose
2002,
at
but I could never
5:47
cite the
a.m.
real source.
Had positioned
I
the
wrote around
boat
the truth,
at the edge
pointing
of the
at patterns
deepest
without
trench
naming
in
the
the area,
species at the center of them.
where her people could
In
easily
2008,
reach her.
6 years after the
James
incident,
helped me set up a
there was
sling
another
to lift
disappearance
her
near
from the
Flynn
tank
Reef.
without causing
A solo
injury.
diver, night dive,
She remained
vanished
calm
without
throughout,
trace.
trusting us
The
completely,
investigation was brief.
or perhaps simply
The area
resigned
was still
to
under
whatever we
restricted
chose to
access,
do.
and the
At
diver had
6:15
violated the
a.m.,
closure.
with all
The
6 of
official
us on
conclusion
deck,
was that
we
he
lifted her
ignored
from the
safety
tank.
protocols
She
and
was
paid the
heavier
price.
than she looked.
I knew better.
Dense muscle
Someone
and
had
bone
pushed into their
adapted for
territory
deep
again,
water pressure.
and they defended it
We
again.
carried her to the rail
I
and
thought
lowered,
about reaching freaking out
her into
about
the
trying to
sling that
prevent
would take her
future
down
incidents.
below the surface.
What could I do?
Before we released the sling, I pressed my hand to her arm
The best
one
I could
final
manage
time.
was publishing
The
another
connection
paper
opened.
about the importance of
She
respecting
showed me
marine
gratitude,
protected
not
areas
just from her,
and the
but
ecological
from all
reasons
of
for
them waiting
maintaining
below.
closures even when the
She showed me
immediate threat
hope
seems
that
to
maybe
have
some
passed.
humans could learn,
In 2015,
could change,
I returned
could
to Cairns
coexist.
for the first time since
Then she showed me a
2002.
warning.
I
Others
didn't
of my
plan to go
kind
near
would
the
come.
reef, but I met with Robert
Others
at
who
a
would not
cafe in
listen,
town.
who would
He
not
was
stop.
58 then, still
When that
teaching
happened,
diving,
her people
mostly
would
to
defend
beginners
themselves
in
again.
shallow water.
The cycle would
James
continue
had died 3
until
years
one
earlier,
species
cancer,
or the other was
and
gone.
Robert carried a loneliness
I
that
understood.
reminded me of my own.
I released the connection
You ever
and
think
nodded
about
to
her?
James.
Robert asked.
He opened the
We'd
sling.
never discussed it directly
She slipped
since
into the
leaving
water
boat,
with barely
but
a
we both
splash,
knew what he meant.
her grey form
Every
disappearing
day, I
into the
said.
blue darkness
My
within
grandmother died
seconds.
in 2010.
We
Robert
watched
said.
the water for a long
Before she
time,
went, she told
but
me
she
something.
did not come back
She
to
said,
the surface.
the Yak used to help our
She was
people
gone,
sometimes.
returned to
If
her
someone was
people,
drowning, if
safe
children
for
got
now.
caught in currents,
Did we
they'd
do
bring
the
them
right
back
thing?
to shore. She
Tom
said that
asked
stopped around the
quietly.
1950s.
I don't
and the boats
know,
got bigger
I said.
and the fishing got worse.
But it's done.
They stopped trusting
We
us.
spent the rest of that day collecting our equipment,
Robert said.
getting back the cameras,
But I wonder sometimes
taking
if we
apart
could have
the
had
bait
something
stations.
different. If we'd
Nina
listened to the old
recorded
stories,
everything with
if we'd
narration
respected
about
the
predator
boundaries,
investigation
maybe we could have
and unclear
coexisted.
results.
Maybe they
We
wouldn't
were
have
building
had to
the
hide.
official story,
I thought
the
about
version that would go
Conversation
into
for
reports
years
and
afterward.
databases.
The possibility
Large
of
predator,
coexistence, of mutual
territorial
respect between
behavior,
species,
recommended
felt like
closure.
something from a better
Clean,
timeline than ours.
scientific,
In our
deliberately
world,
vague.
discovery meant
At 2
exploitation.
p.m., something
Contact
appeared
meant
in the water near the
colonization. We couldn't
A
even
shell,
coexist
large
peacefully
and
with other
perfect,
human cultures,
floating on
let
the
alone
surface.
an entirely different
Then
intelligent
another.
species.
Then a
The closure
third.
remained in effect
They
through
drifted
2020,
toward us
though
on
I
a
knew from
current that should have
monitoring
been
reports
moving
that
the
it was
opposite
under
direction.
increasing pressure
Sarah
from
pulled them
tourism
aboard
operators.
with a net.
The economic
Inside
argument
each
was
shell
simple.
was a black
40
pearl,
miles of
perfectly
healthy
round,
reef sitting unused
obviously placed
while
there
dive
on
companies
purpose.
competed for
They're
access
thanking us,
to increasingly
James said.
crowded alternative sites.
Robert nodded.
There were
Or
petitions,
paying us for a
lobbying
safe
efforts,
return.
arguments that
Either
enough
way,
time had
it's
passed
an
that
acknowledgement.
whatever predator had been
They know what we
responsible
did.
was likely
I
dead
kept one
or
pearl.
moved on.
Gave one each to
I
Sarah
submitted
and
testimony
Tom.
every time the closure
Nina
came up
refused
for
hers,
review.
saying
I
it felt
cited
like taking
ecological
payment for
precautionary
doing the bare
principles,
minimum of
potential
decency.
breeding grounds for
Robert and
endangered
James kept
species,
theirs.
the need for
But
reference
Robert
areas
later told me
untouched
he would
by
leave
human
his
activity.
at a traditional site
I never
as
mentioned
an
the real
offering,
reason, but I fought hard to
maintaining the
maintain
old
that
agreements
protected
his
space.
grandmother had taught him about.
In 2023,
We
the
reached
closure was finally
Cairns
reduced,
Harbour on
not
April 9th.
eliminated, but reduced to a
filed my report
15-mile
that
stretch
afternoon.
around the original disappearance
Evidence
sites.
of large
The
predators
other
showing
25 miles
territorial
were
behavior.
reopened to regulate
Not enough
diving.
data to identify
I
species.
watched the news with a sense of
Recommendation
dread,
for
waiting
indefinite
for the
closure
inevitable.
of affected
The
areas.
first disappearance in the newly
Diving
reopened area
operations.
happened in
The
October
AMSA
2023.
accepted the report
A
with
night
obvious
dive,
disappointment.
An experienced diver
They had wanted
vanished
answers,
without trace.
wanted closure
The
for the
investigation went
families,
nowhere.
wanted
Most people
something
assumed it
concrete
was another
to justify
shark attack.
the investigation
Tragic,
costs.
but not unprecedented.
What they got was a
The
vague
area
predator
remained
warning
open.
and a recommendation
I knew
to
better.
close
War had
prime
resumed.
diving territory.
And this time,
But they
I
put
couldn't
it in
stop
place
with a
anyway
research report
because 14
and a species
deaths
protection
demanded
argument.
some response.
The economic pressure
And
was too
closing the
strong.
area was
The
better
tourism
than
industry
admitting they had no
waited
idea what had
21
really
years.
happened.
They weren't
The
going to close
families
the
never
reef
got
again
real
without
closure.
definitive proof of danger.
The official line
That's
was
when I
that the
started
divers
writing
had
this account.
encountered an
Not
unknown
for
marine
publication
predator,
initially,
possibly
just to
a large
document
shark
what really
or ray
happened.
showing
To have a
unusual
record that
behavior.
existed somewhere besides
Some
my failing
accepted
memory.
this.
I'm 58 now.
Others
I
hired
won't
private
live forever.
investigators,
Someone should
demanded
know the
more
truth,
research,
even if that truth
refused to
can't be
believe
acted
their
on.
loved ones
I wrote
had
for
simply
myself
been
at
in
first.
the wrong place
Then I kept
at the
writing
wrong
because I
time.
realized silence
I never
had
told
its
them the
own
truth.
cost. 14
How could I?
families in 2002
Your husband
never
died
got real
defending
closure.
someone else's
More
nursery.
families since then.
Your daughter
They
was
deserve
killed
to know their loved
protecting
ones
breeding
hadn't died for
grounds.
nothing. Hadn't
Your
just
son
been
was a
random
casualty
victims of
in a
nature's
territorial
cruelty.
dispute
They
he
died
did not
because
even
we
know
pushed
he was
into
part
territory
of.
that wasn't ours,
The truth would
ignored
not have
warnings
brought
we didn't
comfort.
recognize,
It would
and
have brought
chose
more
exploitation
questions
over
or boats.
coexistence.
more
But
intrusion
I also
into
knew that
waters
publishing
that were
this would
already
ruin the species
battlegrounds.
I'd spent 23
Our
years
research team
protecting.
broke up within 2
If
months.
people knew intelligent beings were
Sarah took a
defending those
position
reefs,
in the Caribbean
the response
studying
wouldn't be
reef
respect or
restoration.
reconciliation.
Tom finished
It
his
would be
PhD
elimination.
and moved into
Her
fish
people
farming
would be
research,
classified as dangerous,
deliberately
as
choosing
threats
work
to
that
human
kept him
activity.
away from wild
There would
ocean
be hunts,
environments.
extermination efforts,
Nina's documentary was never finished.
capture and study in
She sold
facilities
the
where they
remaining
live out their
footage to a
lives in
nature
tanks
program
like the one
that
I
edited
kept her
it
in
into
for
something
3 days.
unrecognizable.
So I wrote this account
James and
sat on
Robert
it.
went back to
For
their
2
work
more years,
as dive
I
instructors,
wrote and revised and
but they
debated
never took
whether the
groups to
world
that
deserved
section
this
of reef
truth
again.
or whether some truths
They
are
found
too dangerous
reasons
to
to
tell.
avoid it,
I'm still not
redirected
certain
tourist
I've made the right
requests
choice
to other
by
sites,
finally deciding to
quietly
raise it.
maintained
Last
the
month,
boundaries
I
their
received an
grandmothers
email
had
from a
taught them to
documentary
respect,
filmmaker working on
and
a
I
project
kept the
about the
secret.
2002
For
disappearances.
23 years,
She'd found
I
my
kept the
name in the
secret.
old
The
investigation
nightmares
files and
started
wanted to
about
interview
6
me about
months
the
after
research
we
expedition.
returned.
She
Not
had
every
questions
night,
about
but
the
often
predator
enough.
theory, about why
I
the
dreamed
area
I
was
was back
closed
in
for so
water,
long,
going
about
down
whether I
into
thought
the
it was safe
caves
to dive
where
there
people
now.
lived.
Her email
In the
included a
dreams,
detail
I
that
could
made my
breathe
hands
underwater.
shake. She was
I could
planning
see
to film
in
at
the
Flynn
darkness,
Reef, including
and I
night
could see
dives
the
in the
divers'
formerly
bodies,
restricted zone.
preserved and
She
arranged
wanted to
with care,
prove that whatever had
their
been there in
eyes open
2002
and staring.
was gone now.
I would
that
wake
the
up
closure had
gasping,
been overly
guilty
cautious.
for reasons I
She
could
saw
not
it as
fully
an
explain.
opportunity to restore
We had
access
done the right
to
thing by
pristine
releasing
diving
her.
sites that
We
had
had
been
protected
protected
a
from
species
human
from
impact for 2
exploitation
decades.
and probable
I called her
extinction.
immediately, told her
But
not to
14
film
people
there,
were still
that the
dead,
danger was still
and their
present,
families still
that
had
some
no
closures
real
exist
answers.
for reasons beyond
That
what
weight
official reports
never got
contain.
lighter.
She
I
thanked me
stayed in
politely
marine
and
biology,
ignored everything
but
I
changed
said.
my focus.
In her mind, I
I
was
spent
an
the
aging
next 2
scientist
decades
clinging to
studying
outdated
human
caution.
impact on
She had
ocean
funding,
ecosystems,
permits, and a crew.
publishing
The
papers
filming was
about
scheduled for
habitat
next
destruction,
month. That's why I'm
territorial
releasing this account
displacement
now,
of marine
because my
species,
silence, which
the
was
cumulative
meant to protect
effects
her
of
people,
tourism
has
on
become
reef
a
health.
liability.
Everything
Without
I
the
wrote
truth,
was
without
informed by what I
what's
had learned
really
in
in those waters,
2002,
people
but I
like
could never
this
cite
filmmaker
the real
keep
source.
pushing deeper.
I wrote around the
ignoring
truth,
warnings.
pointing
They'll
at
keep
patterns
dying,
without
and her
naming
people
the
will keep
species
defending
at the
their
center of
territory.
them.
And eventually
In
someone will
2008,
capture or kill one of
6
them,
years after the
and
incident,
the truth will come out
there was
anyway,
another disappearance
probably
near
in the
Flynn
worst
Reef.
possible way.
A solo diver,
At least this way,
night
the
dive,
truth comes
disappeared
with
without
context,
trace.
with
The
explanation,
investigation
with a chance
was
for
brief.
people to understand that the
The
creatures in
area was
those
still
waters
under
aren't
restricted
monsters.
access,
They're
and the
people
diver
defending
had
their homes
violated
from
the
invaders
closure.
who don't even realize
The official
they're invading.
conclusion was that he had
I don't
ignored
expect
safety
this
rules
account to
and paid
change
the
anything
price.
immediately.
I
Most
knew
readers
better.
will dismiss it as
Someone
fiction,
had pushed
as
into
a
their
creative
territory
writing
again,
exercise,
and
as
they
the
had
confused
defended it
memories of an
again.
old man who
I
spent
thought
too
about
much
reaching
time
out,
alone in the ocean.
about trying to
The
prevent
ones who
future
believe
incidents.
it will probably think
But
I'm
what could I
calling for
do?
protection, for study,
I could not reveal
for
the
managed
truth
contact
without
with this newly
exposing the
revealed
species.
I'm
The
not.
best I could manage
calling for
was
the
publishing
opposite.
another paper
I'm asking people to
about
leave
the
them
importance
alone,
of
to
respecting
respect
marine
the
protected
closures that
areas
still exist,
and the
to push for
ecological
expanding
reasons for
protected
maintaining
areas
closures,
rather than reducing them,
even
to
when the
accept
immediate
that not every part of the
threat
ocean
seems
belongs
to
to
have
us
passed.
just because we have the
In
technology
2015,
to reach it.
I returned to
Pearl
Cairns for the
Robert
first
gave me
time since
sits on my desk
2002.
as I write this.
I did not plan
I've
to
kept
go
it
near
for
the reef,
23 years.
but I met
a
with
reminder
Robert
of the
at a
agreement
cafe
we
in
made
town.
that day. We release
He was
her,
58
we
then,
protect her
still
people's
teaching,
secret,
diving,
and in
but
return,
mostly to
they
beginners
spare
in
us.
shallow water.
It's a fragile agreement,
James had died 3 years
constantly
earlier,
tested by people
cancer,
who don't know it exists.
and Robert carried
This
a
account will
loneliness that
probably
reminded
end that
me of
agreement.
my own.
Her people will know I've
You
told
ever
the
think
truth.
about
They
her?
might see
Robert
it as a
asked.
betrayal. But
We
I
had
think,
never discussed
I
it
hope
directly
they'll
since
understand
leaving the
that
boat,
I'm trying to
but we
prevent
both
something
knew what he
worse.
meant.
I'm trying to
Every
give the
day,
world
I
enough
said,
context to make
my
better
grandmother
choices,
died in
to
2010, Robert
recognize
said.
warnings, to understand
Before
that
she went,
disappearances
she told
in
me
certain
something.
waters aren't
She said the
mysteries
Yok
or
Yok
tragedies
used to
or
help our
random
people
acts of
sometimes.
nature. They're
If someone was
consequences.
drowning,
To the
if children
filmmaker
got caught
planning
in
to dive
currents,
at Flynn Reef,
they would bring them back
don't.
to shore.
I know you won't listen.
She said that stopped around the 1950s when the boats got bigger and the fishing got worse.
When you push into the cave
stopped trusting
dramatic
us.
footage,
Can you blame them?
that you're not exploring
No,
empty
Robin
wilderness.
said.
You're entering
But I
someone's
wonder
home,
sometimes
and they
if we
will
could have
defend
had something different.
To her people,
If we had
you're
listened to the
somehow
old
able to
stories,
read or
if we had
understand this,
respected the
I'm sorry.
boundaries,
I
maybe
kept your
we
secret
could have
for 23
coexisted.
years.
Maybe
Silence
they wouldn't
wasn't
have had to
working
hide.
anymore. People
I
kept
thought about
coming.
that conversation for years
Maybe the
afterward.
truth will make them
The
more
possibility of coexistence. of mutual
But I've run
respect
out of
between
ways to protect you
species
without telling
felt
them
like
why you
something
need
from a better
protecting.
timeline
To the
than
families
ours.
who lost someone
In our
those
world,
waters,
discovery
I'm sorry
meant
I couldn't tell you
exploitation.
this sooner. Your
Contact
loved ones
meant
died
taking
because we
over.
as a species
We could not
don't
even
respect
coexist
boundaries we don't
peacefully with
understand.
other human
They weren't
cultures,
killed by mindless
let alone
predators.
an entirely
They were
different
casualties
intelligent
in
species.
conflict between intelligent
The closure
species
remained in
competing
effect
for space in
through
an ocean
2020,
we assumed belongs
though I knew
entirely
from
to
monitoring
us.
reports
That
that it was
doesn't make
under
the loss
increasing
easier.
pressure from
Maybe it
tourism
makes it make
operators.
sense.
The
I'm
economic
58 years
argument
old.
was
I've been
simple.
keeping this secret for
40 miles of healthy reefs sitting
now,
unused,
it's not a secret anymore.
while dive
I
companies
don't know what
competed for
happens next.
access to
I don't know
increasingly
if this
crowded
account will change
alternative
anything,
sites.
or if it will just
There were
add another
petitions,
layer of
lobbying
controversy
efforts,
to a story that's
arguments
already
that
too
enough time had
complicated for
passed,
simple answers.
that
What I know
whatever
is
predator
this.
had been
There are
responsible
people in the
was likely
ocean.
dead
They've
or
been there
moved on.
longer than we've been diving in.
I
They're not
submitted
going to
testimony
leave.
every
And every
time
time
the
we push
closure
into their
came up for
territory with
review.
our boats and our lights,
I cited
and our
ecological
assumption
safety
that everything is
principles,
ours to
potential
explore.
breeding
We're
grounds
making
for
a choice.
endangered species,
We're choosing conflict
the need
over
for reference
coexistence.
areas
We're choosing
untouched by
convenience
human
over
activity.
respect. The
I never
question
mentioned the
isn't
real
whether
reason,
they'll keep defending their
but I
territory.
fought hard to
They
maintain
will.
that protected
The question
space.
is whether we're capable
In
of
2023,
recognizing that
the
defense
closure
as
was finally
legitimate,
reduced,
as the same
not
thing
eliminated,
any intelligent species
but reduced
would do
to
when
a
their homes are
15-mile
invaded.
stretch
Or
around
whether
the
we'll
original
keep calling them
disappearance
monsters
sites.
right up until we push
The
them
other
into
25
extinction.
miles were
I don't have an answer
reopened
to
to
that
regulated diving.
I just know that after
I watched the
23 years of
news
silence,
with a sense
I
of
had
dread,
to tell someone the truth.
waiting for the
Even if
inevitable.
the truth doesn't change
The
anything,
first disappearance
even if
in the
it makes
newly
things
reopened
worse.
area
She looked
happened
at
in
me with
October
those black eyes and
2023.
showed me a world
A night
where her
dive.
people lived in peace.
An experienced
before we
diver
gained our
disappeared
technology
without trace.
and our entitlement.
The investigation
I owe
went
it to her to
nowhere.
at least try to
Most
show
people
our world
assumed
what
it was
we're
another
destroying,
shark attack.
even if we're too arrogant
Tragic,
to care.
but not
She
unprecedented.
showed me boats anchoring
The area
directly
remained
above
open.
their resting places.
I knew better.
Propellers churning the water
The
at
war
depths
had started
where her
again.
people tried to sleep. She
And
showed
this
me
time,
divers with
I could
spear
not
guns
stop it
hunting
with a
fish in
research
their feeding
report
grounds,
and a species
taking
protection
prey they needed
argument.
to survive.
The economic
Her people
pressure
had
was
tried
too
to warn
strong.
us. They'd moved
The tourism industry had
stolen
waited
cameras,
21
created
years.
sounds in the water
They were not going to
drive
close the
divers
reef
away.
again
We'd
without
interpreted
definitive
these
proof
as
of
mysteries,
danger.
strange occurrences.
That is when I
maybe
started
lies.
writing this account,
We'd never considered
not for
they were
publication
messages.
initially,
When the warnings
just to
failed,
document
they took
what
more
really
direct
happened.
action.
to have
She
a
showed me
record that
Colin
existed
Atwood
somewhere besides my
photographing a moray
fading
eel
memory.
den that
I'm
wasn't
58
dead at
now.
all, but an entrance
I will
to a
not
nursery
live forever.
cave. She showed
Someone
three of
should
her
know the
people
truth,
emerging from the darkness
even if that truth
surrounding
cannot be acted on.
his light went out.
I wrote for myself at first, then I kept writing because I realized silence had its own cost. 14 families in 2002 never got real closure. More families since then. They deserve to know their loved ones had not died for nothing, had not just been random victims of nature's cruelty. They died because we pushed into territory that was not ours, ignored warnings we did not recognize, and chose exploitation over coexistence. But I also knew that publishing this truth would doom the species I had spent 23 years protecting. If people knew intelligent beings were defending those reefs, the response would not
only
be
to realize
respect
too
or
late that the divers
reconciliation.
were harmless.
It would be elimination.
She felt guilt about those
Her
two.
people would be
I could sense
classified
it
as
in the
dangerous,
emotional undertone
as
of the
threats to
images.
human
Her
activity.
people weren't monsters.
There would be hunts,
They were intelligent
extermination
beings
efforts,
trying to survive
maybe
in an
capture
environment
and study
we were
in
slowly
facilities
colonizing
where they would
without
live
ever
out their
asking
lives in
permission
tanks,
or understanding
like the
what we
one
were
I had kept her
displacing.
in for 3 days.
I pulled my hand back.
So I wrote this
The
account
connection
and
broke.
sat on it.
I sat there
For 2
breathing
more
hard,
years,
my notebook
I wrote
forgotten on
and
my lap.
revised and
Why didn't you
debated
just
whether the
leave? I
world
asked
deserved
aloud.
this
Why not move to deeper
truth,
water,
or whether some
somewhere humans
truths are
don't
too
go?
dangerous to
She couldn't
tell.
answer with
I'm still
words,
not
so
sure
I pressed
I
my
have made
palm
the
to
right
glass again.
choice
She
by
showed me the
finally
link,
deciding
the
to release
specific
it.
caves and formations
Last
her
month,
people depended on.
I
These
received
weren't
an
just
email from a
territories,
documentary
they were home.
filmmaker working
The
on a
caves
project
provided
about the
specific temperature
2002
ranges for their
disappearances.
The coral
She had
formations
found my
created
name
current
in the
patterns
old
that
investigation
concentrated the prey
files
they needed.
and wanted to
The reef
interview me
structure
about the
protected
research
them
expedition.
from larger predators
She
that
had
hunted in
questions
open water.
about the predator theory,
Moving would mean
about why the
abandoning
area was
generations
closed
of
for so
knowledge,
long,
specific
about whether I
adaptations to
thought
this
it was
environment.
safe to dive
It
there
would mean
now.
exposing
Her
their
email
young
included a
to new
detail
dangers,
that made my hand
potentially losing
shake.
entire bloodlines.
She was
They
planning
couldn't
to
just
film
leave
the
any more than a
Flint
human village could
including
abandon
night
their
dives in the
farmland
formerly
and
restricted
survive in the
zone.
Arctic.
She wanted to
She
prove
showed
that
me
whatever had
something
been
else.
there in
More humans
2002 was
Every
gone
year,
now.
more boats,
That
more
the
divers,
closure had been
more
overly
lights pushing
cautious.
deeper.
She
Her
saw
people
it
were
as an
running out of
opportunity
space
to restore
retreat to.
access to
They were
pristine,
running out of options that
diving
didn't
sites
involve
that had been
increasingly
protected from
violent
human
defense
impact
of
for
their
2
shrinking
decades.
territory.
I called her
And then
immediately,
she showed me what was
told her
gathering
not
in
to
the
film
water
there,
below our boat.
that the danger
At
was
least
still
40 of
present.
her kind,
That
waiting
some
in the
closures
darkness
exist
beneath
for
the
reasons
cold
beyond
star.
what official
They'd
reports
been there
contain.
since we caught her,
She thanked me
watching,
politely
listening,
and
waiting to
ignored
see
everything
what we
I
would
said.
do with their captured
In her
family.
mind, I was an
I thought
aging
her
scientist
anger,
clinging
her
to
fear,
outdated
their debate
caution.
about whether to
She had
attack the
funding,
boat or wait.
permits,
Some
and a
wanted
crew.
to sink us immediately.
The filming was
Others
scheduled
argued
for next
patience,
month.
for seeing if
That
we
is
could be
why
reasonable.
I am releasing this
She'd
account
been
now.
arguing on our behalf,
Because my
telling them
silence,
through
which was
whatever
meant to
means they
protect
used
her
to
people,
communicate across
has become
distances,
a
that I
liability.
tried to help her,
Without the
that I
truth,
removed the hooks.
without
Some
understanding what is
humans
really
might
in
be
those
different.
waters,
But
people like
patience
this
was wearing
filmmaker
thin.
will keep
If we
pushing
didn't
deeper.
release her soon,
They will
if
keep
we tried to
ignoring
take her to
warnings.
land, to a facility,
They will keep
to any
dying,
place where more
and
humans
her
could
people
study
will
her,
keep defending
the waiting
their
group
territory.
would act.
And
They'd
eventually,
sink the boat.
someone will
They'd pull us
capture
down
or kill
into the
one of
caves,
them.
and they'd
And
make
the
sure
truth
no one
will
ever
come
found
out
our
anyway,
bodies, or the
probably
research vessel,
in the worst
or any
possible
evidence
way.
of what we'd discovered.
At least this way,
I pulled my hand away
the truth
from
comes
her.
with context,
I walked to my
with
hand.
explanation,
She raised
with a
her
chance for
left hand
people to
and
understand
extended
that the
3
creatures in those waters
3
are
days.
not
In
monsters.
3 days,
They are
she wasn't
people
free.
defending their
They'd
homes
kill
from
all of us.
invaders
I
who do
called
not
a
even
meeting at 8
realize they are
p.m. in the main
invading.
cabin. All 6
I do
of
not
us
expect
crowded
this
around the
account to
small
change
table
anything
where we
immediately.
usually ate meals.
Most readers
Nina
will
had her
dismiss
camera
it
off
as
for lunch,
fiction,
sensing
as a
this needed
creative
to be
writing
private.
exercise,
I told them
as the
everything I'd
confused
learned through the
memories of an
telepathic
old
connection.
man who spent too
I
much time
described her
alone in
people,
the ocean.
their territories,
The ones
their
who
reasons
believe it
for the
will probably
attacks.
think I
I
am calling
explained
for
about the
protection,
40 waiting in the water
for
below
study,
us.
for managed
Sarah listened
contact
with her
with this
arms
newly
crossed,
revealed
her
species.
expression
I'm
cycling
not.
between fascination
I'm calling for the
and
opposite.
frustration.
I'm asking
So
people to
you're
leave
saying
them
these
alone,
creatures have been
to
systematically
respect the
killing
closures
divers
that still
to protect
exist,
their territory.
to push for expanding
Defending,
protected
James
areas
corrected
rather than
quietly.
reducing them,
There's a difference.
to accept that not
14
every part of
people
the
are
ocean
dead,
belongs to
Sarah
us,
said. I'm
just
not sure
because we have the
semantics matter
technology
their
to reach
families.
it. The
And
pearl
how
Robert
many of
gave
her
me
people have
sits on my
died from
desk
boat
as I
propellers,
write this.
Fishing nets, pollution.
I have kept it
Robert
for
asked.
23 years.
We don't count those bodies.
A reminder of
This
the
is
agreement
different,
we
Tom
made
said.
that day.
These are
We release
intelligent
her.
beings. They
We
can
protect her
communicate.
people's
They
secret.
understand consequences.
And in return,
that
they
makes
spare
them
us.
responsible.
It is a
for their
fragile
choices.
agreement,
Does it?
constantly
I
tested
asked.
by people
If
who do
someone
not
broke
know it
into your
exists.
home, your nursery,
This account will
and you
probably
defended your
end that
children,
agreement.
would you be
Her
responsible?
people will know
or justified?
I have told the truth.
The debate went
They
in
might see
circles
it
for an hour.
as a betrayal.
Sarah argued for contacting
But I
the
think,
authorities,
I hope,
bringing in
they will
specialists,
understand that I
creating
am
a
trying to
framework
prevent
for
something
peaceful
worse.
coexistence.
I am trying to
Tom
give the
worried
world
about the
enough
implications
context
for all
to make
dive
better
tourism in the
choices,
area.
to recognize
Nina
warnings,
stayed quiet.
to understand
But I
that
could see her mind
disappearances
working,
in certain
probably
waters are not
calculating the value of
mysteries
the
or
story she was
tragedies
sitting on.
or random acts
Robert
of
finally
nature.
spoke up.
They are
My grandmother
consequences
told me
to
stories
the
about
filmmaker
Yacht when I
planning
was
to
young.
dive at Flint
She
Reef.
said they used to have
Don't.
agreements with our people.
I know you will
We
not
knew
listen.
where not to fish,
People
where not
never
to
do.
swim. They knew
But when
we
you go down
respected
into
their
those
spaces.
waters with your
Then the
lights and
Europeans came
cameras,
with their boats,
when you
and
push
their
into the
rules,
caves
and
looking for
nobody
dramatic
listened to the old
footage,
agreements anymore.
remember that you are
The
not
yacht
exploring
got pushed
empty
back,
wilderness.
further and further.
You are entering
until there
someone's
was nowhere
home,
left to push.
and they will defend it.
You're saying this is
To her
colonialism,
people,
Sarah
if you
said.
are somehow
You're
able to
comparing
read or
marine
understand
territorial
this,
defense to land
I'm
defense.
sorry.
I'm
I
saying
kept your
it's the
secret
same
for
pattern,
23
Robert
years,
replied.
but
Take
silence
someone's
was
home,
not working
ignore their
anymore.
warnings. Act
People
surprised
kept
when
coming.
they fight back.
They will
Then
keep
call
coming.
them savages for defending
Maybe the
what's
truth
theirs.
will make them more
I
careful.
looked at the creature through
Maybe
the cabin
it
window.
will not.
She was visible.
But I
in
have
the
run
tank
out of
on deck,
ways to
floating
protect you
motionless,
without telling them
watching
why
the
you need
stars.
protecting. to the families who lost someone in those waters.
The question
I'm
is
sorry
what we
I
do
could not
now.
tell you this
We
sooner.
have 3 days
Your
before
loved
the
ones
group below
died
us
because
attacks.
we, as a
Release
species,
her and walk
do
away,
not
or we
respect
can try to
boundaries we
document
do
this
not
and
understand.
probably die in the process.
They were not killed
There's
by
a third
mindless
option,
predators.
Sarah said.
They
We
were
release her,
casualties in a
and then we
conflict
report
between
what we
intelligent
found.
species
We work
competing
with
for
authorities
space
to
in an
establish
ocean we
protected
assume
zones,
belongs
no
entirely
dive
to us.
areas, a framework
That does not make the
respects
loss
their
easier,
territory
but maybe
while
it
allowing
makes
safe
it make
human
sense.
access to other parts
I'm
of the
58
reef.
years old.
You think the government
I have been
will
keeping
create
this secret
protected
for
zones
23
based on our
years,
testimony?
and now
Tom
it
asked.
is not a secret anymore.
Claiming we
I do not know
telepathically
what happens
communicated
next.
with a mermaid,
I do not
they'll
know
think we
if
lost
this
our
account will
minds from
change
isolation.
anything, or if it will just add another layer of
Without
controversy
physical
to a
evidence,
story
without the
that is
creature
already
herself,
too complicated
we had
for
nothing
simple
but an
answers.
incredible story.
What I know is this:
And incredible
there are
stories
people
don't
in the
change
ocean.
policy or protect
They have been
endangered
there
species,
longer than we have been
especially
diving.
species that had killed
They are not
14
going to
people.
leave.
We
And every
have
time
Nina's
we push
footage,
into their
I said.
territory with our
Nina
boats
shook her
and our
head.
lights and
I
our
reviewed it
assumption
this
that
morning.
everything is
The
ours
lighting
to
was terrible
explore,
during the capture.
we are
You
making
can
a
see
choice.
something in the net,
We
something
are choosing
vaguely
conflict
humanoid, but
over
it's not
coexistence.
clear enough to prove
We
anything.
are choosing convenience
It looks like it could
over
be
respect.
a large fish or a
The
person
question
in a costume.
is not whether they
The
will
footage
keep
of her in the
defending
tank
their
is better,
territory.
but still ambiguous.
They will.
Anyone could claim
The
we
question
hoaxed it.
is whether
So
we are
we have
capable
nothing,
of
Sarah
recognizing
said
that
bitterly.
defense as
We make the
legitimate,
most important
as
zoological
the same
discovery
thing
in
any
history,
intelligent
and we have
species
nothing
would
we
do
can
when
take
their
back.
homes are invaded.
I stood up and walked to
or
the
whether
window.
we will keep
The
calling
creature
them
had turned in
monsters
the tank
right
and was
up
looking
until
at me.
we have
Even
pushed
from a
them
distance,
into
I could
extinction.
feel her watching,
I do
waiting
not
for
have
me
an answer
make
to
a
that
choice.
question.
We have something better than
I just
proof,
know
said.
that after
We have a
23
chance
years
to
of
not make
silence,
things worse.
I had to
I
tell
turned
someone
back to
the truth.
Think about what
Even if
happens
the
we
truth
do
does not
report
change
this.
anything.
If we somehow
Even
convince
if it
authorities
makes things
that an
worse.
intelligent species
She looked
is
at
living
me
in
with
these
those
reefs,
black eyes
what comes
and showed
next?
me a world where
Research
people
vessels,
lived in peace
military
before.
involvement, capture
We
teams
came with
trying
our
to bring in
technology
specimens,
and our
people trying to
entitlement.
establish contact,
I owe it to her to
establish
at least try
territory,
to show our
establish
world
control.
what we are destroying,
We'd be starting
even
a
if
war
we are too
between
arrogant
species,
to care.
and her people are